the Almighty Pokémon Master. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476, Ghastly Evolution. Under the illumination of the light, the things in this space slowly appeared in front of everyone. 1, 2, 8, 9. 9 piles of gold and silver. Zhang Xingyun counted and found that there were 9 piles of gold and silver on the ground in this space. The golden light reflected by the light also illuminated the room. Through the 9 piles of gold and silver, there was a stone altar, divided into 2 sides, with 4 rows on each side. The items on the table had weathered away, leaving only a few black plates and bowls. Behind the altar, there were several collapsed ruins, and no one knew what they were used for. Going further, there were 4 golden coffins arranged in 1 or 3, with several special stone coffins on each side of the coffins. The buildings behind them also collapsed and lost their original appearance in the face of time. On the ground, there were inexplicable patterns engraved. It's strange. This looks like a closed space. So how did the elves who attacked us just now survive? Looking at the things here, you can tell that it must have been many years, and it has all weathered. Zhang Xingyun held his chin with one hand, thinking about the scene in front of him. This seems to be the God-locking stone. No wonder our superpowers are restricted. So that's why such a large piece is rare. The top of the golden coffin is inlaid with a purple black stone about 3 meters long and wide. This should be the God-locking stone. It is extremely restraining and can suppress the superpowers of superpowers. It is a special stone. Zhang Xingyun walked to the small coffins inlaid on the wall. It is unknown what materials these small coffins are made of. They can actually let the elves rest in them like Pokeballs. Zhang Xingyun and others came to a few coffins and stood still to observe them. This coffin is of good quality. I don't know how long it has been, but there is no damage. Zhang Xingyun turned around and looked at it. The patterns on the coffin are clearly visible. While he was observing, Zhang Xingyun and others also came over, used their superpowers to push the coffin board up. In a short distance, superpowers can still be used. Squeak, the coffin made a friction sound, and everyone stood a few steps away. After a few minutes of opening, they went to see what was inside the coffin. Inside the coffin, there was a skeleton lying on it. There were also tattered pieces of cloth on the bones, which should be the shroud of the corpse. There were also several objects placed next to the skeleton. It seems that there are words engraved here. Zhang Xingyun pointed to the inside of the coffin and said. Zhang looked at it for a few times and could roughly understand the meaning of these words. The coffin contained a princess, and the words engraved inside were some introductions about her. It's cruel. She was also buried alive. She was in her 20s and was buried here with this prince. There was no human rights in ancient society, Zhang said with some indignation. Then he opened the 2 coffins next to it and looked at the words engraved on them. They were also 2 concubines who were buried alive. They were not very old, also in their 20s. Without touching the materials inside, he covered the coffins, walked to the middle coffin, and opened it. All they saw was a set of damaged clothes and some valuables, but no body. There were also inscriptions in the coffin, some introductions and the like. This is a cenotaph. This prince died on the battlefield, and there is no body. Zhang explained. Let's pry the locking godstone off. It's too uncomfortable here, Zhang suggested. Among the crowd, his ability level was not high, and it was very uncomfortable to stay here. Several people had no objection, and spent some time to pry off the locking godstone, and then put it into the space. When the locking godstone was put into the space, everyone felt lighter, and the restrictions of their abilities were gone. Zhang Xingyun released his mental power and explored the surrounding area of several hundred meters. He found that the mud layer 10 meters away was different, and the building of the tomb was missing a piece, buried deep in the soil. Zhang Xingyun also found that the small coffins embedded in the wall were connected by a trace of black energy, but the source had been lost. These energies were very similar to those emitted from Zhang Xingyun and those from the stitched monsters. But Zhang Xingyun couldn't figure out what these were. He just felt that this energy was very ancient and evil. Without the source, Zhang Xingyun could only give up. He originally thought that he could still explore whether it was a super ancient power. Of course, it was not without gain. There was a discovery in the underground of the tomb. After digging up the ground, a small space was found underground. This space was very obscure. If the locking godstone had not been moved away, it would not have been found. After digging up the soil layer, it was found that this space stored extremely rich ghost energy, which had been liquidized into a small pool. There were also a bunch of extremely good dark stones in the liquid, and some other gems. His ghastly burst out of the Pokeball, looking at these with fiery eyes. In reality, the energy contained in the dark stone can help the ghost type Pokémon grow. The higher the level of the dark stone and the purer the energy, the better the qualifications of the Pokémon. Pokémon like Ghastly can also use the energy of the dark stone. Besides, this small pool is not only dark stones, but also treasures such as ghost crystals suitable for ghost type Pokémon. After discussion, if any of them had ghost type elves, they could take them out and let them absorb the energy. Among the 8 people, only Zhang Xingyun and Zhang Xingyun did not cultivate ghost type elves. The others all had them, and they released their elves to let them absorb the energy inside. His Ghastly jumped over happily, and his whole body was soaked in the energy pool that was as thick as liquid, absorbing energy and making cheering sounds. Zimeng and others elves also behaved in a similar way, playing happily in this small energy pool. His Ghastly swallowed the energy fiercely, and his body also grew bigger, a whole circle bigger. The originally round body became even rounder, but it continued to absorb energy, and one wave after another of energy was absorbed into its body. Don't worry, take your time. Looking at Ghastly, who had gained twice as much weight, Zhang Xingyun said to comfort him, and raised his hand to send a stream of green energy to help it relieve a few times. His Ghastly made a joyful cry and continued to absorb energy. Other elves were also absorbing energy, but the difference was that they didn't absorb as much energy as Ghastly, and they didn't look like Ghastly. His Ghastly's calls seemed very regular, and his aura became stronger and stronger, reaching a critical value. Darn like the sound of a bottle cap opening, Ghastly's aura instantly rose, and a light appeared on his body. A ray of evolutionary light enveloped it, and Ghastly began to evolve. Chapter 477, House on the Oasis. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun quickly took out the items that had been prepared for Ghastly from the storage space, both edible and external, and gave them to Ghastly. The light of evolution on Ghastly's face became more dazzling, and in the light, Ghastly's body began to change. 2 claw-like shapes stretched out from the light, and the body was also stretching. Whoosh, the energy underground seemed to have received a call, and flew towards Ghastly, who a brand new Pokémon appeared in front of everyone. It was Ghastly's evolved form, Haunter. A white Haunter flew in front of Zhang Xingyun, hissing in a deep voice. It's good that it has evolved, Zhang Xingyun said, and opened the system to scan. Name, Haunter, male, attributes, ghost, poison speciality, floating qualification, dark blue, flash, strength, mid-elite skills, hypnosis, licking tongue, hate, black eyes, spell, night curse, strange light, surprise attack, shadow fist, venom shock, shadow clone. Perhaps due to absorbing too much energy, his strength has broken through from the peak of ordinary to the mid-elite, and his qualification has also been raised from dark green to dark blue, with significant improvements in all aspects. The aura on Haunter is very solid, not frivolous. The spirits of Lan Yujin and the others have also made a small breakthrough. Then he collected the several dark stones and dark crystals in the energy pool that could be collected, and distributed them when he returned. He took away all the property in the tomb that could be taken away. Finally, he restored the tomb a few times, walked outside to seal the stone door again, and then walked to the ground. Everyone had a smile on their face. This trip to the tomb was quite rewarding. Zhang Xingyun felt a little regretful that he did not find the suspected super ancient power, which was a pity. Why do you look a little regretful? Nangang Yeo beside him asked, and she saw the changes in his expression. Nothing. This trip to the tomb is a little different from what I imagined. Zhang Xingyun replied. Of course, tombs are like this. The tomb I explored last time was much larger than this one, with more complete specifications and layout, and everything else is similar. What surprised me a little is that the strength of the elves in this tomb is similar to the elves in the tomb I visited last time. Then this may be the king of a small country and a big country. Zhang Xingyun smiled, and everyone stopped here, found a place, and rested. Since entering the desert, they haven't rested much. The next afternoon was in the tomb. At this time, the sky has darkened. The sun in the sky half sank into the mountain, emitting a weak sunset, stubbornly illuminating the world. Let's eat. Everyone held bowls and chopsticks and sat together. The big pot in the middle was cooking fragrant food. The elves were also nearby, with food in front of them. People and elves ate together. I've learned a lot today. I didn't expect that monster to still be alive. Lan Yuchen sipped the food in his bowl and mentioned the stitched monster elves he encountered during the day. And that giant Jenga, it's really big. I don't know what it ate to grow so big. If it weren't for the fourth brother's Bangulus, it would probably not end well. When the giant Jenga was mentioned, everyone started to discuss. This is the first time I've seen such a large Jenga. The Jengas I usually see are considered big when they are more than 2 meters long. Pei-Chen said lightly, and the firewood in front of him crackled. By the way, did you notice the energy that overflowed when Bangulus beat Jenga? You should have noticed it too. Every time that energy overflowed, the Jenga became a little smaller. That energy should be the reason why the Jenga is so huge. Zhang Xingyun took over the topic and talked about the scene at that time. Yeah, I noticed it too. Everyone chatted and ate, and the atmosphere was very good. When talking about funner things, everyone laughed. With everyone's current strength, there is no need to worry about anything here. No matter how loud the noise is, it will be fine. After eating, they cleaned up the dishes and sat together to look at the sky. The sky was dotted with stars, which was very beautiful. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yao snuggled together and talked about something. The rest of the people sat on their own. Jian Wenchen was being attentive to Long Zirao, but Long Zirao was still the same as before and didn't pay much attention to him. Lan Yuchen and the others sat together. I don't know what he said, but Zimeng laughed. Nidoking's elves rested on the ground around them and did not return to the elf balls. At night, everyone was a capable person, so there was no need to arrange night watchmen. They all sat cross-legged on the ground, and their mental power was used to explore the surrounding situation. The forest at night was very lively. When everyone was in a trance, roars came from all directions. A few hunters passed by in the distance, looked at everyone from a distance, and when they saw Nidoking, they turned around and left, not daring to move forward. After one wave, another wave came, but they also left, after looking for a few times. This night, everyone spent the night in constant small noises and roars. Time came to the morning, and the dew did not stick to everyone. After getting up, washing, and having breakfast, everyone continued to rush to the place indicated by Shakiras. Everyone on the way looked relaxed, walking and stopping to browse the surrounding scenery, and did not use elves as a means of transportation. It was noon when everyone walked out of this forest, stepped onto the desert again, and rushed to the interior. Looking back, this newly descended forest is still not small, and it should be able to withstand the invasion of the desert for a long time. Find a place to rest, have a lunch, and continue to move forward. Along the way, except for a few elves who didn't know the depth to attack them, everything was safe. After walking for another afternoon, everyone came to an oasis called Shitten. This oasis is about 5 square kilometers, with many pedestrians coming and going. There are also several small buildings built on the oasis, and there is a small market for trading. Let's rest in this Shitten oasis tonight, Pei-Chen suggested. In the vast desert, many oases have been developed by people to serve as temporary trading points, supply points, etc. There are many oases like Shitten in the desert. After everyone agreed, Pei-Chen came to a building and walked in. Soon a middle-aged man came to greet them respectfully and arranged food and accommodation for everyone. Is this yours? Lan Yuchen asked. Pei-Chen nodded in response. 666. Your real estate has opened in the desert. I can't help but accept it. Chapter 478 Desert Travel. Under the instruction of the middle-aged man, everyone came to a large suite. The room was decorated in the style of a luxury hotel, and the equipment was also complete. This would not be a big deal in the city, but it was in the desert, which made it very special. The middle-aged man was the person in charge. After arranging the accommodation for several people, he withdrew. After a while, a group of waitresses with pretty faces and wearing the same type of hotel uniforms came in with food and put it on the table. Several waitresses smiled appropriately, bowed to everyone, and then withdrew. Wow, there are so many high-end ingredients here. Lan Yuchen was surprised. The food brought were all high-end ingredients, and there were also seafood such as lobsters. It's okay, let's eat. We'll rest here tonight and continue tomorrow, Pei Chenjin said with a smile, inviting everyone to sit down and eat. Haha, then I'm not polite. Several people sat down and ate one after another and opened a few bottles of wine and drank together. This is really a trip. I thought we would eat sand in the desert during this period, Lan Yuchen said, after putting down the wine glass. I said we are here to travel, and by the way, let Xingyun's Shakiras evolve, Pei Chenjin said, raising the wine glass in his hand again, and clinking it with everyone. Haha, if you have time during the winter vacation, you can also come to Ontario for a trip. I will take you to Ontario for fun, Lan Yuchen invited. You can also come to the imperial capital to find me. Long Zhao also took the opportunity to invite everyone. After that, Zimeng and Nangang Yao also invited them to travel to their place when they have time. Zhang Xingyun naturally also spoke up and invited everyone to travel to Nanyu province. After a dinner with laughter and joy, everyone went back to their rooms to rest after digesting a few meals. The next morning, after replenishing some supplies, everyone set out on the journey again and headed deep into the desert. The weather is still as hot as ever. Lan Yuchen removed the energy layer around his body and instantly felt waves of heat coming. He picked up the water in his hand and drank it again. After drinking, he continued, we are still better off with special abilities. It would be very hard for ordinary people to endure this. This damn weather is too hot. You are talking nonsense. If we want to be cool, we have to go to the ice field in the north. It won't be hot there, Qian Xiuming replied, and took out water to drink. Everyone's backpacks have enough water. Thanks to the space technology, they can hold so much water. The heat emitted by the sand under the scorching sun is visible to the naked eye. Even though everyone has an energy layer to isolate the heat wave, they still drink a few more sips of water. Hey, Xingyun, you are too much. You even brought out the refrigerator. Qian Xiuming looked back and saw Zhang Xingyun, who walked to the back, took out a refrigerator, took out ice cream from it, and handed it to Nangang Yao, and then spoke. It's so hot, ice cream and cold drinks go better together. Zhang Xingyun smiled and handed the thing in his hand to Nangang Yao. Nangang Yao smiled, took the ice cream and started eating. Give me some of that. Why didn't I think of it this morning? If I knew, I would have brought one too. Qian Xiuming rushed over, took the cold drink from Zhang Xingyun, and started drinking it. Now you think of it, right? Zhang Xingyun smiled, wrapped the refrigerator with his supernatural power, moved it in front of everyone, and let them choose. Well, this is tourism. Most people come here to make a living, not to travel. Even if there are space props, they will not put things like refrigerators that they think are impractical to occupy their precious space. The 8 people talked and laughed, drank cold drinks, and strolled in this hot desert. What do you think? Will we come across some ruins, and then we will show our power in the ruins, get treasures, or get a divine beast, and then we will be unstoppable, the champion of the king, haha. Then I still suggest you lie down and take a nap. You can have anything in your dreams. Zimeng ruthlessly interrupted Lan Yuchen's fantasy. Lan Yuchen smiled awkwardly and said nothing. Everyone rested under the tree trunks. These tree trunks were all dry. Perhaps they had descended here before and were assimilated by the desert. I have to ride the elves a few times in the afternoon to hurry on. I'm a little tired, Zimeng suggested. Walking in the desert, although there is a supernatural power to isolate the heat, it is also a very energy-consuming existence. Several people agreed. After walking for a whole morning, they saw nothing but sand along the way, and they couldn't help but feel a little bored. They also encountered several waves of elves attack, but they were all taken down in the first time, so there was no impact. Don't worry. It took me several days to get here. Of course, I also had elves to help me. Pei Chenjun explained. After resting, they sent elves to help them in the afternoon, and the speed was increased immediately. When they encountered the same scene, they just ignored it. When they passed by the scenery worth watching, they stopped and watched it for a few times. This day was the third day they entered the desert. At the beginning, they were still interested in looking around, but now they were not interested anymore and watched selectively. In the evening, after enjoying the sunset, they came to an oasis. This oasis was larger than the previous one, but the flow of people was much less. The elves that people brought with them were also very powerful. Zhang Xingyun looked around and found that most of them were elite level 1, and there were also many class seekings. He even saw a person with a king elf. Under the leadership of Pei Chenjun, they came to the bottom of a building. The sign on the building was the same as the sign of the building they lived in last night, which meant that this building was also Pei Chenjun's home. Let's rest here tonight. It just so happens that this place is also owned by my family. Pei Chenjun said with a smile, leading everyone into the gate. After connecting with the leader, everyone moved into a luxurious suite. Play landlord, eat the rich. Lan Yachan shouted at the table and started eating the food on the plate. Anything you can eat, as long as you can eat it. Pei Chenjun smiled and said generously, your family is so powerful. You still have a base so deep in the desert. Qian Xiuming said with a tone of admiration. This is necessary. This desert is too big and there are too many uncertainties. Someone has to observe it. Besides, the revenue here is not small, and it is also a profitable business. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479 Arrival. After another day of rest at the Oasis Hotel, everyone set out on the second day. Qian Xiuming ate the ice cream in his hand. Several of them also followed Zhang Xingyun and brought a small refrigerator filled with ice cream and other things. Jian Wenshan also sent out his ice elves to make some ice cubes for everyone to cool down. Today is the fourth day since we entered the desert. How far have we walked? Qian Xiuming asked, just after eating an ice cream. It should be about 200 or 300 kilometers. Pei Chenjun estimated. Shaki at this time, Shakiris was shouting. His tone was excited, as if he had sensed something. Shakiris turned around and called Zhang Xingyun a few times. Okay, I'll let Pidgeot out and let it take you. After that, Zhang Xingyun led Pidgeot out, turned over on Pidgeot's back, and Shakiris let Pidgeot take him. Lan Yachan and others also sent out elves, rode on them, and followed behind Pidgeot. After half an hour, everyone stopped because there was a sandstorm in front of them. Unlike before, these sandstorms were confined to a certain area and did not spread out everywhere. Shaki as soon as Shakiris landed, he shouted at the sandstorm. Bang roar, a faint roar came from the sandstorm. Whoosh, the sandstorm slowly stopped and several tall figures walked out of it. It was Bangerous. Ban. After several Bangerous came out, they ordered Shakiris a few times and stood still. Shakiris danced with the sandstorm, wrapped himself up, and also wrapped Zhang Xingyun, and rushed towards Bangerous. Don't worry, I was like this at the time. There is no danger. Pei Chenjun explained and comforted everyone. After listening to Nangang Yao and others, they relaxed, and Zhang Xingyun's voice also rang in their ears. Ha ha ha, it's you, Chenjun. A hearty voice came, and a 4-meter tall Bangerous, which exuded an extremely powerful pressure, appeared in front of everyone through the flying sandstorm. Behind Bangerous, there was an old man with white hair and beard and a kind face. Hello, second uncle. Pei Chenjun turned around and shouted to the newcomer. Seeing this, Lan Yachan and others also greeted the newcomer. Okay, they are all your classmates. Yes, second uncle, they are my classmates at Magic City University. This time, my classmate's Shakiris is about to evolve, so they came here. Pei Chenjun said respectfully. Hey, why do I feel that you two look very familiar? Have we met before? Pei Yuan looked at Nangang Yao and Long Zirao and said with some doubts. Hello, Grandpa. My name is Nangang Yeo. My grandfather is Nangang Zhang and my father is Nangang Bo. I met you several times when I went to Jinling. Nangang Yeo also recognized Pei Yuan and replied, "Oh, it turns out that you are the granddaughter of old man Nangang." Pei Yuan laughed, stroked his white beard, and looked at Long Zhao. "I recognized you. You should be from the old man Long Zheng's family. Long Zheng is my grandfather. When I was in the imperial capital 3 years ago, I met the senior several times." Hearing this, Long Zhao smiled and replied, "Ha ha ha," I said, "how could you be familiar? Since you are here, then follow me. Let that little friend pass the test of Bangerus and others." Pei Yuan smiled heartily and led the 7 people into the sandstorm from one side. As for Zhang Xingyun, there was naturally no danger. Zhang Xingyun naturally didn't know this scene. At this time, he was in the sandstorm field condensed by several Bangerus. He and Shakiras moved forward together. Shakiras had a hard time moving forward, and it took several seconds to move a little distance. Zhang Xingyun, who was in the sandstorm, felt suppressed. The flying sand flashed a faint earthy yellow light, which hindered the use of his supernatural power. 4 Bangerus, all of them are at the first level of the Heavenly King. It seems that the Bangerus tribe should have arrived. Looking at the 4 Bangerus 100 miles away, Zhang Xingyun used the system to scan and knew their strength. Shakiras launched the power of the sandstorm and took him forward slowly. Zhang Xingyun also helped by casting a spirit attachment spell on it and then used supernatural powers to help it move forward. Bangji seeing this, several Bangerus increased their strength and the sandstorm flew even more violently. Shakiras and Zhang Xingyun were still moving forward slowly. Just as a Bangerus was about to increase its strength, it was stopped by another Bangerus. Bang bang bang, the 4 Bangerus stood in place, watching Zhang Xingyun and Shakiras moving slowly forward. This sandstorm field has the level of a quasi-king, which is enough to sharpen the elite level Shakiras. At first, the sandstorm field condensed by the Bangerus was only at the elite level, and then it increased to the level of a quasi-king. The Bangerus just now wanted to increase the difficulty, but was stopped by another Bangerus, because this difficulty was enough in its opinion to prove the ability of this Shakiras. 3 minutes later, Zhang Xingyun brought Shakiras to the front of the 4 Bangerus. Bang bang one of the Bangerus came out and shouted to him and Shakiras a few times, saying that they passed the test and followed it. After that, Bangerus turned around and walked towards the sandstorm. Zhang Xingyun followed with Shakiras and plunged into the sandstorm. Is this space energy? Zhang Xingyun felt a wave of space fluctuations in the sandstorm, wrapping him and Shakiras. In an instant, the sandstorm disappeared and the scene in front of him changed. Young Ji, several young Jiris ran by, stopped after seeing him, and looked at him curiously. Behind the young Jiris, there was also a Bangerus. Bangerus saw Zhang Xingyun and the Shakiras beside him, and the vigilance and doubt in his eyes disappeared, and he left with several young Jiris. This seems to be a secret place, with such a high energy concentration. Zhang Xingyun said softly. Shakiras jumped in front, and Zhang Xingyun followed behind. Hey Xingyun, you are so fast, I thought you would be slower. Just after crossing a hill, Pei Chenjin's voice came to his ears. Why are you here? Looking at the people in front of him who were drinking tea, Zhang Xingyun asked. My second uncle brought me in. Pei Chenjin replied and looked at Pei Yuan who was making tea in the middle. Chapter 480, Land of Evolution. Zhang Xingyun sat down and drank the tea that Pei Yuan had just brewed. Chenjin, what should we do next? Zhang Xingyun asked, after putting down the teacup in his hand. He had no idea at the moment, so it would be better to ask Pei Chenjin, who had experience. Come with me. Pei Chenjin stood up and took Zhang Xingyun over several mountains and came to a low-lying basin. The entire basin was 100 acres in size and very wide. At this time, there were already more than a dozen Shakiras half buried in the soil in the basin. Such a rich energy. As soon as he arrived, Zhang Xingyun felt a strong energy emanating from the basin. This is the evolution place of their Bangerus clan. Generally, the Shakiras in the secret realm will come here when they evolve. Pei Chenjin explained. While he was talking, 2 Bangerus with extremely powerful auras came over and said something to the Shakiras. There are also several champion level Bangaras here to impart some of their experience. Zhang Xingyun nodded and motioned the Shakaras to move forward. Shakaras jumped and jumped, found a suitable place, and planted in the mud. At the same time, a stream of light yellow energy emerged from the mud and entered Shakaras' body. After seeing Zhang Xingyun and the others, Bangalas did not pay attention to them, nor did they treat Shakaras differently. Bangalas walked in front of Shakaras and shouted, "Ban Shaki Shaki." The two elves started to communicate, and Zhang Xingyun was pulled aside by Pei-Chenjin. "That's it, let your Shakaras stay here until it evolves. Here your Shakaras can also communicate more with its kind, and there will be champion level Bangalas to teach some tribe experience. They won't treat it differently, you can rest assured about this," Pei-Chenjin said lightly. "How big is this secret realm?" Zhang Xingyun asked, looking at the surrounding environment. "Hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. That's quite big. Of course, there are not only elves like Bangalas living here, there are other elves living here." Zhang Xingyun nodded and found a place to sit down. "Hey, does everyone in your family have a Bangalas?" Zhang Xingyun asked with a smile. "Almost, but there are a few who don't have one, because whether they can have one depends on whether the other party is willing to have one, and they also have to pass the test of their parents. Our family has a cooperative relationship with them, not a master-servant relationship." Pei-Chenjin returned, took out the elf on his belt, and released his Bangaras. "Bangaras, you can move freely and meet with the tribe. I will stay here for the next few days." Bangaras responded and walked away. Bangaras have bad tempers. Only by treating them as family members and partners can you gain their recognition. Looking at the Bangaras walking away, Pei-Chenjin said in a serious tone, "That's natural." Zhang Xingyun agreed. Elves are not animals without intelligence. Only by truly treating them as partners can they follow them. Bangaras in the distance gestured to the Shakaras, probably teaching them some skills and moves. While the two were talking, two people came over, and there was a Shakaras next to them, who should have come here to evolve. One of them came over and chatted with Pei-Chenjin for a few words. It can be seen that the two knew each other. After the Shakaras entered the basin, the two also left here, and no one knew where they went. Zhang Xingyun stayed where he was and chatted with Pei-Chenjin and got a lot of information about this secret realm from Pei-Chenjin. The number of Bangaras living in this secret realm is the largest on the entire Blue Star. For some reasons, Pei-Chenjin's family is responsible for the affairs of this secret realm and maintains a good relationship with the Bangaras clan. The elves living in this secret realm are not only the Bangaras clan, but also many clans, but this piece is the Bangaras clan land, and other elves are heir. The secret realm is a semi-independent secret realm, which moves randomly in the Tama Desert, and the secret realm will emit a special wave, which will sense the elves of the Bangaras clan and rush here. Then aren't you afraid that the trainers who come here will have bad intentions and cause damage here or something? Zhang Xingyun asked, expressing his doubts. Bad intentions? Damage? After hearing this, Pei-Chenjin laughed and said, "Have you seen my second uncle? And that person just now? Whenever someone enters this secret realm, we will sense it and send someone to greet them. Besides, what is this place? This is the tribe of the Bangalas. The patriarch of the Bangalas is here. He has a bad temper, and its strength should have reached that level. Ordinary beasts are not enough for it to fight. There is no need for the beast that can defeat it to do this." Ha ha ha, I think too much. Zhang Xingyun laughed a few times. He was indeed overthinking this. As a secret realm under the charge of the famous Sandstorm Pei family, the defense capability is extremely strong. According to Pei-Chenjin, there is a patriarch of the Bangalas in this secret realm. His strength is unfathomable and can even defeat ordinary beasts. I have been able to walk smoothly all the way, probably because of Pei-Chenjin. Boom boom boom, there were several rumbling sounds in the distance. Zhang Xingyun floated up and looked in the direction of the sound source. It turned out that several Bangalas were competing, and there were dozens of elves watching around. "Hey, you are here." In the distance, Lang Yachan and his friends were riding on the backs of flying elves and flying towards them. "No, why are you here?" "I'm bored, so I just wandered around here." Senior Pei also agreed. "Such a rich energy, that must be your Shakalas." Lan Yachan pointed to the Shakuras in the basin and said, "Yes, let's talk about it on the ground." After landing, several people sat on the ground and looked at the Shakuras in the basin in the distance. 500 million, 1 billion, 1.5 billion. Lan Yachan pointed at the Shakuras in the basin and counted the money. 500 million and 500 million. Oh my god, there are so many Shakuras. If they were left outside, each one would break its head. If only. After counting them, Lan Yachan smiled. "What's wrong, Yachan? Are you tempted? Then go ahead and do it." Looking at Lan Yachan's expression, Zhang Xingyun encouraged him with a smile. Chapter 481 Shakuras Evolution. "That's not necessary. I want to live a few more years." Lan Yachan smiled awkwardly. He was just bragging. He didn't know how he died if he did this in front of several Bangaras. At this time, a voice came to Pei Chenjin's ear and then said to everyone, "Actually, you can try it. As long as you get their approval, you may be able to subdue the young Kyrus." "Ah, we can try to subdue it?" Several people opened their eyes wide, and Qin Xiaoming said in disbelief, "Yes, as long as you can get their approval, but you can't use coercive means, and there are some taboo means." Pei Chenjin said very affirmatively, looking at the two Bangaras in the distance and the young Kyrus under their feet. Then I have to give it a try." Qin Xiaoming looked excited, and his face turned slightly red because of excitement. Lan Yachan and others had similar expressions. To them, owning a quasi-god elf was still very attractive. "Well, go ahead. You are qualified to be here." Pei Chenjin encouraged. "Ha ha ha, then I'll go." Lan Yachan and the others were overjoyed, and immediately stood up, and went to look for it. Only Nangang Yeo and the other three girls did not move, unmoved. "Why don't you go?" Pei Chenjin asked, and Zhang Xingyun also looked at the three of them, very curious. "Forget it, I have cultivated enough elves now, so I won't go." Nangang Yeo replied, "I don't like it, Bangalas is too fierce, and I can't afford it." Zimeng Meng shook her head and said directly, "It's not suitable for my elflin loop. If I wanted it, I would have cultivated it long ago." Long Zhao said lightly, "That's right." Pei Chenjin smiled and nodded, and said nothing. Bang bang bang, the sound of collision came, and the five people looked up, and saw that it was Zhang Xingyun's Shakuras and another Shakuras colliding with each other. Neither of them used other moves, but only relied on physical fitness to collide. Bang, Zhang Xingyun's Shakuras hit the Shakuras hard, and it flew more than 10 meters away. The Shakuras fell to the ground with a bang, and did not get up. After defeating the Shakuras, another Shakuras came to challenge it, and collided with it again. Bangaras and others were still around, watching the performance of the two Shakuras on the field with interest. Shakuras defeated another Shakuras, and another Shakuras came to challenge it. This time it was no longer a simple collision, but also a contest of other means. Physical fitness, sand control ability, sandstorm control, etc. were all demonstrated one after another. Fortunately, Shakuras was carefully trained and defeated several Shakuras of the same level one after another. Shaki after Shakuras won, Bangaras and Shakuras who were watching cheered for it. Hearing the cheers of its kind, Shakuras became more imposing, and more energy emerged from the ground, which was absorbed by Shakuras. The other Shakuras did not challenge again, standing on the ground, absorbing the energy emerging from the ground. Half an hour later, a Shakuras on the field emitted an evolutionary light, which flickered from time to time. Several Bangaras on the field danced a strange dance, and several Bangaras from afar came and danced together. After the Bangaras on the field danced a strange dance, a series of obscure fluctuations appeared on the field, heading towards the Shakuras that were about to evolve on the field. Zhang Xingyun's Shakuras was among them. Several Shakuras on the field that were about to evolve all lit up with the evolutionary light. Seeing this, Zhang Xingyun took out high configuration potions and other items from the space and let the Shakuras use them. Bangaras' voice was very rhythmic, and pale yellow energy bodies emerged from the soil layer, wrapping up the 5 Shakuras that were about to evolve on the field, turning them into a cocoon shape. It can be seen with the naked eye that the cocoon-shaped energy body formed by Zhang Xingyun's Shakuras is larger than its peers, and has a higher energy concentration. Who who slowly, the pale yellow cocoon-shaped energy body slowly grew larger, and the Shakiras inside was also undergoing a transformation. Bang, a loud roar came from the pale yellow energy group, and with a bang, the light dissipated, revealing the Bangerous inside. Bangji, the Bangerous, that had successfully evolved, roared, then stopped, and continued to absorb the energy from the soil layer, and the aura on his body was slowly rising. Bangerous with light blue qualifications is not bad. Zhang Xingyun turned on the system, scanned this Bangerous that he had successfully evolved, and obtained its data. Before the evolution, the qualifications of this Bangerous were just entering the deep blue level, and now it has been promoted to light blue, almost approaching the deep blue level. Bang, in Zhang Xingyun's observation room, another Shakiras completed the evolution. He turned on the system and scanned it, and learned that this Bangerous had dark blue qualifications. The increase in qualifications was not as high as the first one, but this qualification also reached the average value of their group. Bang bang, 2 more Shakiras evolved successfully, the light dissipated, and 2 Bangerous stood there. Zhang Xingyun checked with the system, and his qualifications had improved a lot, and his strength had also improved a lot. Now his Shakiras was the only one on the field that was still evolving. The energy ball that wrapped around Shakiras emitted a more dazzling light, and Shakiras was also evolving, and its evolutionary movement was louder than that of the 4 of its kind. Buzz buzz buzz, several more energies emerged from the ground, and entangled with it. Bang, a roar came from inside, and its voice sounded louder and more powerful than that of its kind. Bang, the light dissipated, revealing the figure of Bangerous. Bang, feeling the burst of energy on his body, Bangerous roared to the surroundings, and the 4 Bangerous that had just evolved took a step back after meeting its sight. Bangerous hit the ground and continued to absorb the energy transmitted from the ground without moving away. Bangji, several of the surrounding Bangerous shouted with satisfaction. Your Bangerous have been bred so well, they are already over 3 meters tall. Zimeng Meng exclaimed, looking at the 5 Bangerous that had just evolved on the field. The other 4 were over 2 meters tall, and only his Bangerous was over 3 meters tall. This is also the result of Xingyun's careful breeding. Congratulations, the team has added another general. Page Engine congratulated, with envy in his eyes. Hahaha, it's all Bangerous' good fortune. I also have to thank you for bringing me here. There are no such good evolutionary conditions in other places. Chapter 482, Bangerous. After Zhang Xingyun thanked him, he started to look at the information of Bangerous. Name, Bangerous, male, attributes, rock, evil characteristics, raising sand qualification, light purple strength, midterm qua-seeking skills, collision, staring, falling rocks, tooth for tooth, iron wall, bite, ghost face, rock collapse, piercing sound, evil wave, flame fist, flame fang, lightning fang, ultimate impact, quicksand hell, destruction death light, shadow claw. Following the blasto eyes, the qualification of the evolved Bangerous was also upgraded to purple. The strength was also upgraded from the late elite to the midterm qua-seeking. The most amazing thing was Bangerous' height. Zhang Xingyun estimated that it was 3.5 meters tall. The average height of a general Bangerous is only 2.0 meters, but his Bangerous is 3.5 meters, which is 1.5 meters taller than the average Bangerous. Several champion level Bangerous walked over, circled Bangerous a few times, patted its body, and said something. The height of these Bangerous was only about 2.6 meters, much shorter than Bangerous, but their momentum was stronger than that of the more than 3 meters Bangerous. Bangerous was very respectful to these seniors, and responded with his head slightly lowered. Finally evolved. Zhang Xingyun smiled and looked at the surrounded Bangerous. When he got Bangerous, it was still an elf egg, and the eggshell was also a little damaged. It took a lot of effort to recover. Bang bang bang. After chatting with several Bangerous for a while, Bangerous took heavy steps and came to Zhang Xingyun. The tall body blocked the sunlight, and Zhang Xingyun's height was only up to its chest. Bangerous raised his hands and hugged Zhang Xingyun. Hahaha, you are not the young Bangerous anymore. I can't hold you anymore. Zhang Xingyun also raised his hands and hugged back. Bangerous' hand gently rested on Zhang Xingyun's body. It found that its former tall trainer who had always taught it and protected it, seemed to have become smaller. Now it was its turn to protect the trainer. Banji, okay, it's your turn to protect me and everyone else in the future. Bangulus has grown up. Zhang Xingyun responded with a smile, and the Pokeball on his belt moved slightly. Nidoking and the others came out of the Pokeballs one after another. Bangulus squatted forward and gave a big hug to the big brother Nidoking and the team. Since Sid was still a young Gillis, the big brother Nidoking has taken good care of it. Hey boo Banji, he hugged Electabuzz again. The second brother of the team, who was a little jumpy, had always been with it. After that, he also hugged Pidgeot, Lady Flower Clean, and Mantis several times. Seeing Bangulus's current appearance, the Pokémon were also very happy and congratulated it. Nangangyeo and the others beside him also watched this loving scene with a smile on their faces, and also congratulated Zhang Xingyun. Watching them grow up is what makes me happiest, Zhang Xingyun said, his face full of relief. Hahaha, Xingyun, you look like an old father. Page-Engine teased, and Nangangyeo and the others beside him laughed. In fact, aren't we trainers old fathers? When they were young, we had to worry about training and so on, just like urging homework in our hometown, but our growth cycle is different. Hearing this, Zhang Xingyun did not refute, but replied softly, it seems so. After hearing this, several people also agreed. After a long while, several Banguris in the distance shouted, asking Banguris to come over. After Banguris went over, they talked together with the other 4 Banguris, and Nidoking's Pokémon returned to the Pokéball. We have to stay here for a few days. Bangulis should be able to learn a lot, Page-Engine said, looking at several Bangulis. Well, we do have to stay here for a few days. Why don't you go back to school first? Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Plans can't keep up with changes. Originally, he came here to travel for a few days and evolve Bangulus. Now looking at this situation, he has to ask for leave. I can't. The classes in school recently are not important. I won't go. Page-Engine said immediately, and Zimeng and others had the same idea. The boss and the others won't go back either. They still have to try to see if they have a chance to get a young Kyrus. At this time, Lan Yuchen was in a sand dune, quietly looking at a young Kyrus not far away. The 3 of them dispersed and went to find a suitable young Kyrus to see if they could get one. Lan Yuchen happened to find a young Kyrus here, so he squatted and watched quietly. The young Kyrus picked up a piece of ore and threw it into his stomach. After a few clicks, he swallowed it, and a satisfied look appeared on his little face. It's quite delicious. This scene was also known by Lan Yuchen, who was observing it. Then he took out the Pokémon food from the space and mixed it. Young Gillis is a Pokémon with rock and ground attributes. The book says that they generally like slightly salty food. After a few manipulations, a grey-brown Pokémon food was prepared. This taste should be right, Lan Yuchen said, after sniffing it a few times. For a qualified trainer, mixing Pokémon food is a basic skill, and he naturally knows this aspect. In order not to scare it, Lan Yuchen put the prepared Pokémon food in a corner, used his supernatural power to make some noise, and guided young Gillis to go forward. Young Gillis as he planned. Young Gillis saw the Pokémon food on the ground, sniffed it a few times, and then started to eat it. Young Gillis' voice seemed even more joyful, and it was obvious that this Pokémon food was very suitable for its appetite. Hahaha, this step is right. Lan Yuchen was overjoyed, and then made several types of Pokémon food, and put them on the ground. As little Kyrus was eating, he came to Lan Yuchen. Hi, hello little Kyrus. Lan Yuchen released the power of Wava Guide, trying to make himself look more friendly. He held a few pieces of grey-brown energy in his hand, and stretched them out to little Kyrus. Little G at this point, little Kyrus also knew that the food he was eating was made by the biped in front of him. He took the energy cube from Lan Yuchen's hand, threw it into his mouth, chewed it a few times, and swallowed it into his stomach. How is it, little Kyrus? Is this to your taste? Little Kyrus was not shy, and stretched out a little hand to ask him for food. Chapter 483, Tempting Young Kyrus. Here, eat more. Lan Yuchen took out the elf food from the space, and threw it to young Kyrus in batches. Young Kyrus was not polite, and started eating after taking it. One person handed it, and one elf ate it, which lasted for a long time. Young Kyrus? Young Kyrus looked at Lan Yuchen in confusion, and motioned him to take out the food. Yaoji, I don't have the food you like on me now. Lan Yuchen smiled awkwardly. Yaoji. Young Kyrus curled his lips slightly and stepped back. Well, can you become my elf? I eat a lot, the kind that you can't finish eating. Lan Yuchen hurriedly followed and communicated with young Kyrus. God knows that this young Kyrus is not big, but he eats a lot. All the elf food he likes in the space has been eaten by him. Yaoji. Young Kyrus ignored him and drilled into the ground. Young jealous, I'm not weak either. That. Ba ba ba. Lan Yuchen wiped his face and spat out the dirt that young jealous had stirred up when digging the hole. Fuck, I lost the food and got a face full of dust. What a big loss. Since ancient times, true love can't be retained. It seems that I have to change my strategy. Lan Yuchen left here cursing and could only look for the next target. On the other side, Zhang Xingyun and a few others came to Pei Yuan and drank tea together. Hey, you three kids, why don't you try it? Pei Yuan stopped making tea and asked Nangang Yeo and the other two. Grandpa Pei, Bangulus is not suitable for my elf Lanoop, so I won't try it. Nangang Yeo postponed, and Zimeng Meng and the others also refused. Friend Zhang, your Bangulus's aptitude is not low. It can be seen that you have carefully cultivated it. Pei Yuan looked at Zhang Xingyun and said in a very kind tone. The scene of Bangulus's evolution was also within his perception. As a trainer of Bangulus, this is what I should do. Well, you have this awareness, which shows that you are an excellent trainer. Come on, have some tea. Pei Yuan stroked his beard and smiled, calling a few people. Thank you, senior. Zhang Xingyun thanked him, picked up the teacup and drank. After drinking, his mind was empty, his heart was calm, and his brain's thinking speed was slightly improved. He felt indescribably comfortable. Good tea. Haha, this is a refreshing tea. It is very effective for people with abilities at your level. You should drink more. Pei Yuan called. Nangang Yeo and the others thanked him, picked up the teacup and drank. Boom. While everyone was drinking tea, an explosion sounded in the distance, attracting them to look over. It's the friend with the wave power. Pei Yuan said after a slight sense. The wave power, that's Yu Chen. What happened to him? Why is there an explosion? Zhang Xingyun asked the reason. Wow, you are such a bully. In the distance, Lan Yuchen was riding on a flying elf in a very embarrassed manner, flying towards this side, with two Bangulus following behind him, and a young Kyrus sitting on the shoulder of one Bangulus. Bang. The Bangulus chasing behind did not attack with all his strength, and threw rocks casually, which also made Lan Yuchen very embarrassed. Bang. Bangulus stopped chasing, roared, and returned to the original place. What's wrong with you? How can others attack you? After Lan Yuchen landed, Zhang Xingyun and others surrounded him. Don't mention it. We agreed to fight, but while we were fighting, its parents came. When they saw that it was defeated by me, they attacked me without saying a word. It can't afford to play. Lan Yuchen stood up and complained indignantly. Maybe the pair of Bangulus thought you were bullying the young Kyrus. Bullying it? Are you kidding me? It was it that bullied me. It stole my elf food, and its parents chased me. It was it that bullied me. Speaking of this, Lan Yuchen was very depressed. Is that so? Maybe you two are not suitable. While there is still time, you can try to find another young Kyrus. Zhang Xingyun suggested. No, I want to subdue it. By the way, Xingyun, you should have something that the young Kyrus likes to eat. Give me some. Lan Yuchen thought that Zhang Xingyun had cultivated Bangurus, and he should have the elf food that it likes to eat. Yes, I'll give it to you. Zhang Xingyun took out a pile of elf food from the space, including energy cubes, including junior, middle and high. He divided them into 3 parts, and gave one of them to Lan Yuchen. Thank you, I will definitely treat you to a meal when I subdue it. Lan Yuchen promised, put away the things and left. It seemed that the direction he was walking was the direction of the Tabangurus. Everyone smiled as they watched Lan Yuchen go away. After a while, Kayam Xiuming and the others returned empty-handed, having failed to subdue young Kyrus. Yuchen asked me for some elf food. Do you want it? For a big eater like young Kyrus, maybe it will work if you tempt him with food. Zhang Xingyun said, taking out the remaining elf food. That makes sense. Give me some. Zhang Xingyun and the others' eyes lit up, and they took the food handed over by Zhang Xingyun, without even drinking the tea, and hurried over there. Zhang Xingyun and the others drank tea with Pei Yuan again, chatted with him, and asked him some questions about the first level of the Heavenly King. Pei Yuan answered all the questions asked by Zhang Xingyun and the others, and answered the questions from different angles, which gave them great inspiration. For the Pokemon of the King level, the degree of mastery and use of energy has reached a certain realm. For example, if the level of the Quasi King is 10, then the level of the first level King is 100 or even 1000. Whether in terms of quality or quantity, there is a huge gap. So the King level is also a big hurdle, blocking more than 90% of the Pokemon. Pei Yuan talked about his views, and Zhang Xingyun nodded from time to time. This point was also mentioned in the cultivation secrets exchanged by the system, so a long time ago, the cultivation was cultivated in this direction. I heard that both of you have Pokemon of the King level? Can I take a look? Of course, but we need to rely on some means to have the combat power of the King. Under normal circumstances, it is still the strength of the Quasi King level. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully. Haha, it doesn't matter. Come out, Nidoking. Zhang Xingyun sent Nidoking out. Gardevoir. Nangang Yeo was her Gardevoir. Nidoking and Gardevoir came out of the Pokeball together and stood on the ground. Mega evolved Gardevoir. Gardevoir evolved Nidoking. Nido both of their Pokémon lit up and entered the evolutionary state. Chapter 484 Guidance. The evolutionary lights of the two were a little different. Zhang Xingyun's light was brighter. The light flashed, and the bonded Nidoking and Mega Gardevoir appeared in front of the few people. Pei Yuan exclaimed, and looked around Nidoking. Your Nidoking is very special. As far as I know, ordinary Nidokings don't have this state. Maybe Nidoking and I are special. Zhang Xingyun said. Looking at its muscle texture and the energy aura it exudes, you have cultivated this Nidoking very well. Its aptitude is not low. With such a solid foundation, it is easy to cross the hurdle of the King. I have a few suggestions to help Nidoking advance to the King level faster. First of all, it is the energy problem on its body. You have to increase the energy of the ground system to balance the poison energy in its body. The energy blocks you usually feed have too much poison energy. Pei Yuan had a sharp eye. After looking around, he roughly understood the situation of Nidoking and gave a few suggestions. Zhang Xingyun thanked him and took the opportunity to ask him a few targeted questions and got the answers he wanted. After observing Gardevoir again, he also gave some suggestions. Zhang Xingyun also released the giant claw mantis and asked him to give some pointers. Pei Yuan was not stingy and gave him pointers, which benefited him a lot. If you have any questions about training and cultivation, you can come and ask me. Pei Yuan said to everyone very kindly. Zimeng and the others were not polite either. They released their Pokémon and asked him to give some pointers. After the pointers, they also asked a few questions and got answers. After finishing the questions, Zhang Xingyun found a place and started training. If he didn't understand something, he would ask Pei Yuan. 2 days passed quickly. During these 2 days, they spent time in training. In their spare time, Pei Yuan took a few people to visit the secret realm. There are also buildings in the secret realm for people to rest. Zhang Xingyun and his friends lived here for the past 2 days. Lan Yuchen and the other two didn't see anyone. They should be looking for strategies for young Kyris to see if they can capture a young Kyris in the next few days. This morning, when Zhang Xingyun was training Pokémon, he heard a bang and the ground was shaking slightly. Looking up, it was Bangilis who came over. Bangilis had spent the past 2 days there and learned a lot. Today, he had learned almost everything, so he came back. Bangilis greeted him and the other elves, announcing his return. Nido Hebu Nidoking, and the others responded enthusiastically, welcoming its arrival. Bangilis must have learned a lot of knowledge in the past 2 days. Bangilis then show me. Zhang Xingyun smiled and asked the elves to push away to make room for the performance. Bangilis stood still. His aura changed, and he began to demonstrate. Swish, the surrounding sand flew up, and with a whoosh, a statue of Bangilis condensed in front of Bangilis. Whoosh, another statue of him appeared, and then Nidoking, Electric Beast, and Lady Huaji all condensed, lifelike and very realistic. Bangilus shouted happily, as if he was showing off something to him. Bangilus, you are amazing. Your sand control ability has been greatly improved. You can condense such a realistic statue. Zhang Xingyun praised, after checking it a few times. Bangilus's sand control ability has really improved a lot. The statues condensed are extremely realistic, and some textures are clearly visible, which proves the superb ability of Bangilus. Such a fine sand control ability can also play a significant role in actual combat. Bangilus hearing his praise, Bangilus was very happy. Hey boo the electric shock monster looked forward at the statue that was 1:1 with it, and was very satisfied. He admired Bangilus. After that, Bangilus walked to another place, and demonstrated what he had learned again. Whoosh, the wind was blowing, and the sand flew. Soon a huge sandstorm tornado wrapped them all in it. Zhang Xingyun looked up, and saw sand flying everywhere. He seemed to be in a sea of sand. Strangely, he did not feel uncomfortable. Perhaps it was Bangilus's work. Nido, the mud and sand under Nidoking's feet, moved a few times, dragging it up, and merging it into the flying sand. Banji Nidoking responded, and casually displayed his moves. He found that the speed and power of the moves he performed were much stronger than those outside. Stepping on the flying sand and gravel was like standing on the ground, and he could absorb the energy of the ground. In addition, the flying sand and gravel here could give him a lot of help. Then, Nidoking performed other moves and felt much easier. Then Bangilus condensed the sandstorm into a sandstorm space. The flying sand and gravel were all flashing with a faint yellow light, which was very similar to Bangilus who fought against the giant Jenga that day. The flying sandstorm suddenly condensed, rolled into a ball, and turned into a giant claw that covered the sky. It clawed hard at the ground, and a large piece of land was tangled out of the ground, and then fell heavily to the ground. There were several loud bangs, and the ground shook a few times. Fortunately, the place Zhang Xingyun chose was spacious and remote, so Bangilus didn't accidentally hurt anyone. Fuck, if Bangilus goes to work on the construction site, those excavators will be out of work. Lan Yuchen, who was attracted by the noise, looked at the several kilometers of pits that appeared on the ground in the distance, and was shocked by the scene. Why are you back? I haven't seen you for 2 days. Zhang Xingyun turned around and asked. He didn't see him for 2 days, and he didn't know if he had successfully subdued the young Kyrus. Of course he went to do something big. I successfully subdued the young Kyrus. Hearing this, Lan Yuchen grinned, took out an elf from his belt, and shook it. Congratulations, you successfully subdued a young Kyrus. Zhang Xingyun congratulated. Hahaha, this is also thanks to the elf food you gave me. If it weren't for the elf food, I wouldn't be able to subdue it. Lan Yuchen said gratefully. It's good that it's useful. Zhang Xingyun nodded and smiled. He was also happy that he could subdue the young Kyrus. Several figures flew over from a distance. They were Nangang Yeo and the others. Why is there such a big noise? Nangang Yeo asked first after landing. It's a new move that Bangilus has learned. He was just practicing it. Zhang Xingyun replied. This power is too amazing. Such a big pit. Looking at the pit a few kilometers ahead, Zimeng said. Chapter 485 Return to the Magic City. You successfully subdued the ultrasonic larvae, right? Zhang Xingyun asked. In the past few days, everyone was led by Page Engine to visit this secret place. During the visit, Zimeng wanted to subdue an ultrasonic larvae. This morning, accompanied by Nangang Yeo and Long Zirao, she went to subdue the ultrasonic larvae. Of course I subdued it. I just came back and heard your movement. That's good. Now we have to wait for Xiaoming and the others. Zhang Xingyun said, looking into the distance, and saw 2 figures rushing over here. It seems that they are back. Soon Qin Xiaoming and Jian Wenchen arrived at the scene and landed on the ground. You are back. Did you successfully subdue it? Zhang Xingyun asked. Don't mention it. I tried several times and failed. Qin Xiaoming said frustratedly, looking tired, and walked to an open space and sat down. I'm in a similar situation, and I was chased and beaten by a Bangilus. Jian Wenchen had to smile bitterly. His hairstyle was a little messy, and there were faint dark circles under his eyes. He hadn't had a good time these past 2 days. Boss, did you succeed in conquering it? How are you, Yuchen? the two asked at the same time, looking at Lan Yuchen curiously. I succeeded. Lan Yuchen smiled. Congratulations. Congratulations on conquering the young jealous and owning a classy god. After hearing that Lan Yuchen had conquered it successfully, the two congratulated him. Hahaha, I'm lucky. Take a rest and try again. Seeing that the two failed to conquer it, Lan Yuchen comforted them. Forget it. Forget it. Young jealous are not that easy to conquer. I have tried to contact 3 young jealous in the past 2 days and failed. There is no point in trying again. Qian Xiuming waved his hand, and Zhang Wenchen also said that it was not necessary. Now my Bang jealous has evolved. How about we go back to the magic city? Zhang Xingyun asked as he looked at everyone. Okay, we've been out for so many days. It's time to go back. Qian Xiuming agreed with the others. Let's go say goodbye to Senior Pei, and when Shenzhen comes back, we'll go. Zhang Xingyun said softly, taking out the Pokeball and putting Bang jealous back into the Pokeball. Several people came to Pei Yuan's residence. At this time, Pei Yuan was drinking tea leisurely. Seeing that several people came, he took out the teacups and put them aside. After greeting, several people started chatting and took the opportunity to talk about returning. After Pei Yuan tried to persuade them to stay for a few times, he didn't continue, seeing that everyone was like this. After a while, Pei Chenjin came. Chenjin, we plan to go back to the magic city today. Zhang Xingyun said. Okay, I also know that we are going back to the magic city in the next 2 days. This time we went out and bought some specialties just to prepare to go back. Pei Chenjin said with a smile, and then turned to Pei Yuan. Second uncle, please send us out. Okay. When everyone was ready, Pei Yuan raised his hand slightly, and ripples appeared in the space around them. After a few seconds, everyone disappeared from the spot and appeared in a desert. There was an oasis in the distance. After they arrived at the oasis, they knew where they were. If we fly here, we can go back to Wumu City. Pei Chenjin looked at the map, then rode on the elf, and led the way. Zhang Xingyun and others followed behind. After flying for a few hours, everyone arrived at the outskirts of Wumu City. After having a meal in the city, they boarded a plane to the magic city and rushed to the magic city. At this time, the sun was also hanging far in the sky, a fiery red, a magnificent scene of a setting sun. Thank you, Boss Pei, for your hospitality this time. You must come to Anhu next time and let me treat you. Lan Yuchen and others chatted loudly on the plane. During these few days, everyone was warmly entertained by Pei Chenjin. No matter which aspect, Pei Chenjin made very thoughtful arrangements, making everyone very satisfied with this trip. Especially he successfully tamed a young Kyrus. It should be, just have fun. Pei Chenjin said with a smile. Looking at the satisfied smiles of everyone, he was also very happy. The plane was flying steadily in the troposphere. Occasionally 1 or 2 elves flew by, but they were all driven away by the guardians on the plane. On the plane, everyone chatted and chatted, and they were a little tired, so they began to rest. Zhang Xingyun took out a thin blanket and draped it over the two of them. Take a break, we will arrive in the magic city soon. Zhang Xingyun said warmly. Okay. The two snuggled together, closed their eyes and rested. Occasionally, there were a few noises outside, which soon subsided. When it was dawn in the morning, the news of the upcoming arrival came from the plane, reminding the passengers in the cabin to get ready. Lan Yuchen shouted and stretched. Zimeng Meng and others also woke up one after another. It's only 5 in the morning, and we are almost in Magic City. It looks like everything will go smoothly this time. Qian Xiuming touched his face and checked his phone. Zhang Xingyun and the others woke up and stretched their bodies. They had been sitting in their seats all night and felt a little uncomfortable. After stretching, they prepared to get off the plane. Bang bang, the plane shook and landed successfully. We are here. After the plane stopped, the people in the cabin moved and walked towards the plane. After leaving the airport, they took a car back to Magic City University. Bang ha ha ha, I, Qian Hansen, am back. After opening the door of the dormitory, Qian Xiuming lay directly on the sofa. After putting his things away, Zhang Xingyun walked out of the dormitory and placed Undertaking and the others in the school's breeding house. In the breeding house, he accompanied the elves. Dong dong, the phone in his trouser pocket rang. He picked it up and saw that it was the counselor Li Yingren calling. Hello. Hello Xingyun, you are in school, right? Yes, I'm in the training house now. Well, come over to the battlefield. There are freshmen from other universities coming to our magic city for exchange and study. Come over. Okay. After that, he hung up the phone. Other universities? Is it such a coincidence? Zhang Xingyun murmured, and had to take everyone with him to the battlefield in Magic City University. When they arrived, they found that there were so many people here. There were not so many people on weekdays. Here we come. Our freshman champion is here. When the students around saw him, they made way for him to go in. After walking in, he saw from a distance that Dean Lin and Counselor Li Yingren were talking to some unfamiliar people on the audience stand. On the battlefield, Liu Ruhan was fighting a girl. The girl had delicate features, a tall figure, blue hair, and even blue pupils. At this time, he was commanding a Mega Lucario to fight Liu Ruhan's three-headed dragon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486, Battle Against Blue Ice. Xingyun is back from his trip. How is your health? Li Yingren, who was on the stage, saw Zhang Xingyun coming in and walked down from the stage. He came to meet him and asked with concern. It's okay. Thank you for your concern, Teacher Li. Zhang Xingyun responded. That's good. Teacher Li, you asked me to come here. Is it related to them? Zhang Xingyun pointed to the blue-haired girl on the battlefield and said. Yes. Li Yingren nodded and said, they are from Jiangsu and Zhejiang University who came to our magic city for exchange and study. I asked you to come here just in case. Did you see that Lucario? It also has the combat power of the first level of the king. I was afraid that Ruhan would lose. By chance, I heard from Yuchen that you also came back today, so I asked you to come here. On the field, in the duel between Lucario and the three-headed dragon, the three-headed dragon was at a disadvantage. Roar, roar, roar. The three-headed dragon roared continuously, and the three heads launched 3 attacks at the same time. Lucario was agile, wandering around the field, and when he raised his hand, he fired multiple wave missiles towards the three-headed dragon. Bang, bang, bang. The skills collided, and the dust on the field flew up, covering both Pokémons. From time to time, the sound of the two Pokémons fighting could be heard from inside. Roar. The three-headed dragon retreated from the smoke, and Lucario followed closely and fought closely, always hitting the three-headed dragon and causing damage to it. In the counter-attack of the three-headed dragon, Lucario avoided the attack with special postures and skills. This Lucario has a strong fighting ability. Looking at the performance of Lucario on the field, Zhang Xingyun said. In the close combat with the three-headed dragon, Lucario always avoided the attacks of the three-headed dragon and injured the attacks that he couldn't avoid at the lowest cost. Bang. Facing the crazy three-headed dragon, Lucario opened up the distance in time and started fighting, looking for opportunities. The three-headed dragon flew up to the sky and attacked from the sky, all with success. Lucario predicted the attacks and prepared to dodge them in advance. However, Lucario's attacks always hit the three-headed dragon. The battle on the field continued for a while, and finally, amid the unwilling cries of the three-headed dragon, Lucario won. Sure enough, Ruhan still lost. Li Yingren sighed. The unfamiliar people on the rostrum all laughed, and laughed very happily, while talking to Dean Lin and others. Dean Lin and others looked unhappy, but they were still coping. Wait, you go up. Don't let the other side underestimate our magic city. Okay. After saying that, Li Yingren walked up to the rostrum and talked to Dean Lin and others. Then Dean Lin and others looked over and saw that it was him, and their expressions eased a little. Hahaha, Leo Lin, it seems that our school is slightly better this year. A man in a suit sitting opposite Dean Lin laughed, his tone full of pride. In the past years, every time I came to Magic City for exchange and study, I won less and lost more, while the students of Magic City University in Jiangsu and Zhejiang University won more and lost less. Now seeing the students of his school defeat the opponent, He felt very happy. This time he was full of confidence. This year, their school had a student with superpower, which was impossible in the past. Hahaha, where is your freshman champion this year? Why didn't I see them? See you, Ibo said with a smile, full of confidence. When he came, he also knew that this year's freshman champion of Magic City University had a superpower, a special Nidoking, but he believed that his students Lucario would definitely be able to defeat an ordinary Pokémon like Nidoking, even if it was a little special. Several leaders on the field were talking, which had little to do with him. At this time, he met Liu Ruhan, who was walking down the field. Fortunately, you are back, otherwise I don't know who to find. By the way, are you feeling better? Okay, that's why I went traveling. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Then leave it to you. I lost the battle, but that little girl is not weak. I wonder why my three-headed dragon didn't super evolve. If it had super evolved, I wouldn't have lost. It's fine if I lost to you, but I lost to her. Liu Ruhan spread his head and said with a depressed look. He felt that he was unlucky. He was obviously not weak in hard power, but after coming to the Magic City, he was defeated one after another, and he felt bad. Zhang Xingyun comforted him a few words, and felt a little sorry for him. He lost because he didn't super evolve. After the opponent recovered for a long time, Zhang Xingyun heard his name on the radio, and walked onto the battlefield with Liu Ruhan's cheering. Hello, I'm Lanbing, the exchange representative of Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. In the middle of the platform, Lanbing said lightly, with a cold face, and stretched out a white and tender hand. Hello, I'm Zhang Xingyun from Magic City University, nice to meet you. Zhang Xingyun introduced when shaking hands. After a few polite words, the two stood on each side and prepared for the battle under the guidance of the referee. There are often exchanges and learning between universities. It is called exchange and learning, but to put it bluntly, it is a showdown. There are a few times every year, of course, in the top 10 universities in China. If you go to ordinary universities for exchange and learning, you will be laughed at. In today's society, the focus of exchange and learning between universities is naturally the Battle of Elves. The Battle of Elves is also a standard to measure the strength of a school to a large extent. The stronger the school, the stronger the students will be. For example, the students recruited by universities like Magic City this year generally require elite students to be admitted, and a small number of students are qua-seeking level. This year, due to the discovery of super evolution, there are also king level elves, which was unimaginable in the past. On the field, Nidoking and Lucario fought side by side. After a short rest, Lucario's physical strength has recovered, and it does not affect the battle. This battle does not need 6v6 or 3v3, but only 1v1. The victory or defeat is determined by one elf. Zhang Xingyun sent out Nidoking, while Lanbing on the opposite side naturally sent out her trump card Pokémon Lucario. Nidoking, a pretty ordinary Pokémon, but it's well cultivated. Lanbing looked at the burly Nidoking, and sized him up. From the information she had collected, it seemed that the Nidoking in front of her had an evolutionary state that ordinary Nidokings did not have. Super evolved Lucario. Luca, the gorgeous evolutionary light flashed, and Super Lucario appeared on the field, holding a bone stick in his hand, looking majestic. Opposite it, the bonded Nidoking also completed its evolution. Lanbing looked at the Nidoking, who was now more than 3 meters tall, and had an extremely domineering body, and exclaimed softly, observing Nidoking with curiosity with her beautiful eyes. Chapter 487, Lan Yuchen's cousin. The game begins. The referee said at the right time. As soon as the voice fell, Nidoking's figure disappeared from the spot and suddenly appeared in front of Mega Lucario and blasted to cannon punches with great power. Luca at the critical moment, Lucario quickly made a blocking action. Bang with a muffled sound, Lucario retreated more than 10 meters away. Nidoking shot out a jet of flames, chasing after the victory, leaving Lucario no chance to breathe. But Lucario dodged it and threw 5 or 6 powerful wave missiles with his hands. Bang bang bang, Nidoking swung his fists and punched a wave missile. The smoke and dust dissipated and the rock armor on Nidoking's arm shattered. Under Nidoking's control, it was repaired. With a flash of his figure, Nidoking appeared in front of Lucario again, with both tails flying. The ability user is really hard to deal with. It seems that the method used to deal with the three-headed dragon will not work against Nidoking. We can only change our tactics. Lan Bing's face suddenly became solemn, not as calm as when she faced Liu Ruhan just now. Lucanado bang 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 Nidoking and Lucario started a contest on the field. As they fought, Lan Bing's expression gradually became a little panic. She found that, no matter how she fought, Nidoking could counter her methods. And with teleportation, Nidoking no longer had the short board of speed. When he was close to him, the damage he caused was terrible. In these close encounters, Lucario was suppressed and could not get any advantage at all. Its defense ability is also very high. When it was close to him, the moves that fell on it did not achieve the desired effect. Instead, Nidoking's attacks always caused more damage to Lucario. This situation is very similar to the previous battle against the three-headed dragon, but in reverse. Lan Bing also felt what Liu Ruhan felt at that time. On the opposite side, Zhang Xingyun issued combat orders slowly. Now Nidoking has the upper hand. If nothing unexpected happens, Nidoking will win. Last name Lan. There is also a Lucario, who is also a wave guide. Could it be related to Yuchen? Zhang Xingyun couldn't help but think, secretly guessing that the boss Lan Yuchen also had the last name Lan, also had the power of wave guide, and also had a Lucario, so he thought of this. Zhang Xingyun seemed to sense something, and looked at the audience. He saw an acquaintance, his senior classmate Fang Hongjian. It seems that you are doing well, and you also come to Magic City University for exchange and study. Zhang Xingyun said softly. Originally, I heard him say that he went to Jiangsu and Zhejiang University, and now I see him in the exchange group. He is doing pretty well. At the gate of the battlefield, Lan Yuchen and Kan Xiuming walked in from a gate. As expected, Xingyun has to come over and take a look. Hey, why is it her? As soon as he entered the door, Lan Yuchen saw the two people on the battlefield, but when he saw Lan Bing, Lan Yuchen was a little surprised. Boss, do you know that woman? Seeing Lan Yuchen's expression, Kan Xiuming asked. Yes, how could I not know her? She is my cousin, the most talented person in my family. When he said this, Lan Yuchen's face was full of pride. From childhood to adulthood, she has always been the first in the class. Whether it is theory or elf battle, in my family, she is a role model for our generation. Oh, so excellent? In comparison, you, boss, seem a little bit lame. Kan Xiuming said, and mocked him. This is also unavoidable. It's a talent problem, ha ha ha. I don't know what Kan Xiuming's words made Lan Yuchen think of, so he laughed. While the three were talking, Nangang Yao and others also arrived. Nangang Yao received a call from Counselor Li Yinggren, and her 3 roommates accompanied her to see the visitor's strength. Hey, what are you talking about? Zimeng came over and patted Lan Yuchen on the shoulder and asked. Nothing, you are here too, come on, let's find a place to sit. After saying that, Lan Yuchen walked in front and found an empty place to sit down. Hey, that girl is so cool, beautiful, and strong. After sitting down, Zimeng watched the game on the field for a while, and when she saw Lan Bing, she said, pretty, right? She is the cousin of our boss. After hearing what Zimeng said, Kan Xiuming said, wow, the squad leader is your cousin, is that true? Really, she is my cousin. Zimeng glanced at Lan Yuchen for a few times, then looked at Lan Bing on the field, and said, I can't tell at all that you actually have such a cousin. Hey, watch your tone, I'm not bad, okay, I'm just a little bit worse than her. Looking at Zimeng's performance, Lan Yuchen retorted. Yes, a little bit, actually a little bit. Zimeng said that during the desert journey in the past few days, everyone became familiar with each other and would joke around. Then here comes the question. Zimeng cleared her throat and said, now it's Xingyun and your cousin who are fighting, so who do you support? Zimeng looked at Lan Yuchen with cunning eyes and a slightly raised corner of her mouth. Kan Xiuming and others also looked over to see what he would say. This. Lan Yuchen was a little stunned and didn't know how to answer for a while. It was not good to say who he supported. Ha ha ha. Seeing Lan Yuchen like this, Zimeng and the others all laughed. Zimeng seemed to think it was fun to tease Lan Yuchen, so she continued to tease him. On the field, the situation became clear. After being blown away by Nidoking, Lucario directly withdrew from the super evolution state, and his strength also dropped from the first level of the king to the peak of the late Quasi King, and his physical strength was not much. On the other hand, Nidoking was still in a bound state, with a strong breath and the combat power of the king level. During this period of time, Zhang Xingyun did not neglect training, especially in the past few days in the desert. Under the guidance of Peiyun, he made a lot of progress and his strength was stronger than before. Seeing that Lan Bing had no intention of surrendering, Nidoking no longer held back, and attacked with all his strength. Bang bang bang, many piles of stone pillars emerged from the ground, trying to trap Lucario. It was a rock blockade. Lucario dodged around and often avoided the blockade. Lucario exclaimed. The ground he stepped on was soft. The moment he stepped on it, the sand on the ground extended upward along his feet. Lucario jumped continuously, but every time he landed, it was soft sand. During the jump, his movement slowed down a little, and one of his feet was wrapped in mud, spreading upward. Lucario thought to himself that it was not good, and hurriedly broke free, but Nidoking had already teleported in front of him. What Lucario saw was Nidoking's huge fist. Chapter 488 School Team Members. Bang, with a muffled sound, Lucario was hit directly from the front, and was thrown backwards like a kite with a broken string. Finally, he fell to the ground. The soil where he was lying also moved slightly away, and covered Lucario in a few tumbles. In this second, Nidoking moved in front of Lucario again through teleportation, and hit him directly with the power of the earth. Lucario screamed, was thrown into the air, and fell to the ground again. Lucario trembled all over, struggling to stand up. Very strong. Stop. Nidoking, we won this round. Nidoking just made a move, but was stopped by Zhang Xingyun. The opposite Blue Ice had already admitted defeat, took out the Pokeball, and took Lucario back. Your brothers and sisters won. Meng smiled softly. Normal. Although my sister has Lucario, who has the strength of a king, Xingyun is not weak either. Moreover, Xingyun has been improving in the past few days, so his victory is expected. Lan Yuchen analyzed. It can be seen from the comparison between the two Pokémon on the field. As Pokémon with the strength of a king, Nidoking's aura is stronger and longer than Lucario. During the battle, Lucario exited the super evolution state earlier than Nidoking, which is a clear proof. On the field, after Lan Bing left the field, Zhang Xingyun faced other people from Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. They were all Quasi-King level 1 people, but he did not use Nidoking to fight again, but let the newly evolved Bangerus appear. As soon as he appeared on the field, he started super evolution, and attached a spirit to it. Bangerus' strength directly reached the peak of the late Quasi-King stage. The aura was a bit empty, but it was also very strong. The opponent sent a Blastoise at the peak of the middle Quasi-King stage. After super evolution, its strength reached the late Quasi-King stage. This Blastoise can also control the power of our units, and its attributes restrain Bangerus, so its winning rate is not small. 3 minutes later, the Blastoise was defeated in the flying dust. Later, Zhang Xingyun faced two people in succession, both of whom were at the peak of the Quasi-King strength, but they were all defeated. After the third person went down, Zhang Xingyun heard Li Yinggren's words, reminding him to leave, and not to defeat all the opponents. Zhang Xingyun glanced at the stage. At this time, Dinlin and his friends were smiling brightly. Dinlin didn't know what he was saying, and several unfamiliar people were silent, and looked a little embarrassed. After Zhang Xingyun walked off the battlefield, he saw Lan Yuchen and his friends, and walked over. Second brother, do you know that the blue-haired girl you just defeated is related to the eldest brother? As soon as he sat down, he heard Kan Xiuming's words. Oh, I was also wondering if she might be related to you, boss. She also has the surname Lan and breeds Lucario. I didn't expect that she really is. Then he looked at Lan Yuchen and said, is she your relative? My cousin. Lan Yuchen replied directly, looking in the direction of the crowd at Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. Oh, what a coincidence. Zhang Xingyun smiled, and said nothing more. On the battlefield, the battle was still going on. The people who went out to fight were Yan Qinglin and his team, and they fought back and forth with the people on the opposite side. Later, Nangang Yeo and Pei Chenjun also took the stage one after another, showing the foundation of Magic City University. Dean Lin on the rostrum laughed non-stop, while the person sitting opposite him had a dark face. This time, I came to Magic City University to challenge, and it seemed that I had hit a wall, and I lost completely. The King of Strength and several Quasi-King of Peak Strength were all dealt with by Zhang Xingyun, and the performance of the remaining students was a bit unsatisfactory, and they won very few. Only Lang Bing's performance was good, and he defeated several people in succession. If Zhang Xingyun hadn't gone, the rest would have probably been knocked out, but Zhang Xingyun had to go out because of some rules. He was also mocked by his mortal enemy for the poor quality of education at Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. However, what happened on the rostrum had little to do with Zhang Xingyun. Now, he and Nangang Yeo were rushing to the school team's office. Just now, Pei Wenbin notified them on WeChat and asked them to come to the school team's office, saying that there was something to discuss. Lan Yachun and the others didn't go together because they were not admitted to the school team. Although they also participated in the selection, they were eliminated. Among their two dormitories, only Long Zhao passed the selection and entered the school team. This time, the four of them went to the school team office together. On the way, they met Liu Ruhan and went together. They opened the door of the office and walked in. They saw Pei Wenbin sitting inside. There were 3 people in the room together, 2 men and 1 woman. "You're here. Sit down first and wait for the others." Pei Wenbin greeted Zhang Xingyun and the others who came in. Several people responded and found a place to sit down. After sitting down for a while, Gu Xinju and others also walked into the office one after another. "Ahem, everyone is here. Let's get to the point of today." Pei Wenbin coughed lightly, and after everyone calmed down, he spoke. "I called you here this time because I have something to tell you. First of all, let me introduce you to these 3 people." Pei Wenbin pointed to the 3 people on his side and said, "This is Zhang Xingyun, your senior brother, a king-level trainer, and currently the captain of our first school team. Papa hello." As soon as the voice fell, everyone applauded, and Zhang Xingyun also stood up and greeted everyone with a smile. "This is your senior sister Yu Wei, who can also be said to be a king-level trainer." Pei Wenbin pointed to Yu Wei and said, Papa hello everyone, my name is Yu Wei. Don't listen to what teacher Pei says. I'm not a top trainer, but a quasi-top trainer," Yu Wei said to everyone with a smile. "This is Yuanhuo. His strength is about the same as Yu Wei, and he is also your senior." Pei Wenbin pointed at Yuanhuo and said, "Hello, junior brothers and sisters." Yuanhuo stood up and greeted everyone. "Hello, senior brother." Everyone replied, then quieted down and looked at Pei Wenbin. "Okay, I've introduced these 3 people, and now it's your turn to introduce yourselves. Xingyun, you go first," Pei Wenbin said with a smile, and asked Zhang Xingyun to stand up and introduce himself. Zhang Xingyun stood up and introduced himself for a few words, and then sat back in his seat. The other people in the room also stood up and introduced themselves. After Zhang Xingyun observed the circle, he found that all the people who came were freshmen. Including him, there were only 14 people. They were all people who performed well in the freshman competition, such as Mo Yanling and Gu Xinju. Chapter 489, Exchange Study at Imperial University. 14 people is also a normal number. There are only 36 people in all the school teams of Magic City University. 14 freshmen can join the school team, accounting for a little more than 1/3 of the number, which is also normal. Seniors will retire from the school team because they are already seniors. In these 3 years, they have performed as they should. They are also approaching graduation, and most of them are not in school. This time I asked you to come here. In addition to letting you meet the seniors, there is one more thing I want to tell you. At this point, Pei Wenbin stopped, took a sip of water, and continued. "That is, we are going to Imperial Capital University for exchange study. We will set off in 3 days. The exchange object is you freshmen." Pei Wenbin looked at Zhang Xingyun and several others, and said the reason for calling them here. "The exchange study time is roughly 3 or 4 days, or it may be longer. You should have time. If you don't have time, tell me so that I can make arrangements." After this, everyone said that they had time to go to the imperial capital for exchange study. That's good. The 14 of you should all come to participate in the training in the next few days. It's enough to increase your combat power. It's better to sharpen your weapons at the last minute. Pei Wenbin contacted, and everyone agreed. After Pei Wenbin talked for a while, he invited everyone to have dinner at the Yipin Pavilion outside the school, saying that this is a custom. They booked a large private room, and the 18 people sat together and started eating. They were all young people, and the atmosphere soon became lively. Everyone toasted each other and it was very lively. It's really the Yangtze River behind the waves. When I was your age, my spirit was only in the middle stage of the qua seeking. Compared with you, I'm a little ashamed. UNHUO sighed. Zhang Xingyun and him happened to be sitting together, so they started chatting. Senior brother, you are too modest. If you had discovered super evolution at that time, your strength would naturally not be so high. Zhang Xingyun responded. Not even close. Even if I have super evolution, I can't have the strength of a king. I know this. Come on, cheers. Welcome to join our school team. Cheers. Ping the two clinked their glasses and drank. You must give your all for the exchange study at Imperial Capital University. That group of people is not simple. Yes, I will. Lake Xingyun, I also toast you a glass. Welcome to join the school team. From now on, we will be teammates fighting side by side. Zhang Xingyun raised his glass and said, please give me more advice. Zhang Xingyun raised the glass in his hand and greeted him. After drinking, Yue also came to toast, and Zhang Xingyun drank another glass. Then, he toasted to the other people at the table. It was considered an acquaintance, and the atmosphere at the table was very warm. Because of Zhang Xingyun, Nangang Yao was also the focus of everyone. As freshmen, they were the only two who entered the first team. Long Zhao and Liu Ruhan were still in the second team. There were also a few classmates who were in the third team. Everyone ate and drank, toasted and chatted with each other, and the sense of strangeness was reduced a lot, and they became more familiar. After dinner, Pei Wenbin arranged some activities for everyone to participate in. It was not until 10 o'clock in the evening that Zhang Xingyun returned to the dormitory. You two went out to drink, right? Why didn't you see us? As soon as they entered the door, the two people in the dormitory smelled the smell of alcohol and asked. The school team had a dinner, so I drank a few more cups. Pei Chenjun responded, took his clothes, and went into the bathroom to wash up. Big brother and third brother, what's going on with you two in the school team selection? Didn't you pass? Zhang Xingyun asked in confusion. I didn't pass. I tell you, this year's selection was too complicated. It was so complicated. Lan Yuchen sighed. When Zhang Xingyun was in the hospital, it happened to be the school team selection. He and Kan Xiuming also participated in the selection, but they were helplessly defeated. With the emergence of super evolution, they can super evolve, and so can others. So this year's school team selection of Magic City University has become particularly involuted. With their strength, if it were in previous years, they could still pass the selection and enter the school team, but this year, the two were defeated and eliminated. Go to Imperial Capital University for exchange and study. This Imperial Capital University is not a pushover. It may be a little stronger than Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. During the chat, they talked about going to Imperial Capital University for exchange and study. I know. After all, it is Imperial Capital University. It will definitely not be weak, but we are not bad either. Zhang Xingyun said with a calm smile. With a click, Pei Chenjun walked out of the bathroom, and Zhang Xingyun picked up his clothes and walked in. I drank a little too much today. Although I was not drunk, I smelled of alcohol. After washing up, I felt much better, and walked out with my hair wiped. Click, the door made a sound, and Kan Xiuming walked in with takeaway. It's time for supper. I ordered 4 servings of casserole porridge, 1 for each person. Take out the takeaway, put it in front of everyone, and everyone ate it. Zhang Xingyun took a bite, and it tasted good, so he started eating. Most of the food today was alcohol, and after metabolism, my stomach is a little empty now, so there is just something to eat. After eating and chatting for a while, they went back to their rooms to rest. Sitting cross-legged on the bed and practicing, another night passed. The next day, after washing up, Zhang Xingyun came to the school's training room. Hey, Mantis, you have broken through. After entering, feeling the breath of Mantis, he had broken through to the peak of the late Qua-seeking. Hassan, very good. We will be more relaxed when we go to the Imperial capital in a few days. Zhang Xingyun smiled. By the way, I have something to tell you. We are going to the Imperial capital in a few days to exchange and learn. At that time, we will meet stronger opponents and fight with them. We have to train more in the next few days. Nido hey boo Banji. All the elves are full of fighting spirit and look forward to the upcoming battle. Let's go. Let's have breakfast and then we will go to training. After collecting the elves, they came to Gardeva's room and waited for Nangang Yeo. Soon Nangang Yeo also came. After collecting the elves, the two went to the cafeteria together. Hey Xingyun, Nangang. When the two were about to reach the cafeteria, they heard someone calling them. They turned around and saw that it was an acquaintance. Hongjian, why are you in Shanghai? Zhang Xingyun said in surprise. I arrived yesterday and came with my school. Fang Hongjian said in a warm tone. Haha, you didn't even tell me on WeChat when you came. That's great, a surprise, haha. Let's go, let's have breakfast together. Okay. Fang Hongjian responded and followed the two into the cafeteria. Chapter 496 Lightning Whips. I was on the battlefield yesterday, why didn't I see you? In the box, 3 people were sitting around the dining table. Zhang Xingyun said that when he was on the field yesterday, he also looked at Jiangsu and Zhejiang University several times, but didn't see Fang Hongjian. I went to the elf research, you know my strength, and I can't get into the school team. Alas, when I was in Changning, I could be called a master in the class, but now I'm in a famous school, I have become a passerby. Speaking of this, Fang Hongjian looked depressed. His elf was too late elite and couldn't get into the school team at all. This time he came to the Magic City to participate in the elf research and discovery, and there was no elf battle, so Zhang Xingyun didn't see him yesterday. There are always people outside the sky, and I found myself very small when I came out. Then, Fang Hongjian sighed again. Then don't be like this, okay? Take out your previous vigor, increase the investment and cultivation of elves, you won't lose much more than them. Zhang Xingyun comforted. Haha, I'm just expressing my feelings. Fang Hongjian laughed, and there was no depressed look on his face. Xingyun, you are still better. You are still stronger in college, and you are still the first. Fang Hongjian gave a thumbs up gesture. It's okay, eat some of this. Zhang Xingyun waved his hand and greeted. I heard that there are 2 trainers with king level combat power in Magic City University. One is you, and the other is Nangang Yu. Nangang Yeo smiled and nodded on the side, which was considered a response. Awesome. Fang Hongjian praised, and picked up a steamed bun and started eating. The 3 of them ate and chatted, and their Pokémon also ate together. Soon the 3 of them finished breakfast. Today, they each had something to do, so they separated at the door of the cafeteria. Finally, you are together, so well matched. Looking at Nangang Yeo holding Zhang Xingyun's hand, he also knew that the two were already in a relationship. Thinking of this, he took out his mobile phone to take a photo and sent it to Yi Crossing. Hey Yi Crossing, did you know that Xingyun and Nangang are together? Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo came to the number 3 training ground of the school. When they arrived, most people had arrived. After saying good morning to everyone, they found a place to stand and wait for the next step. After a while, Pei Wenbin also arrived, and the other walked towards them. You two, just train freely. If you don't understand, just ask me. Today, the main training is for them. Pei Wenbin said. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo are both capable people. For them, he still thinks it is better to let them play freely. Okay. Zhang Xingyun and Nangang Yeo both agreed and went to the side to train. Okay, don't be envious. If you have elves with the strength of the king, you can be like them. If not, you have to listen to me. Looking at the envious eyes of everyone, Pei Wenbin said lightly. Zhang Xingyun came to a spacious open space and released all the elves, while Nangang Yeo trained on the other side. After Undertaking and the others came out, they all stood in front of Zhang Xingyun, waiting for his instructions. Do you have any questions about coincidences in training? Or is there anything strange about your body? Tell me. Zhang Xingyun looked at the elves and said. Hey boo, the electric shock monster spoke first, raising its question. The general idea was the problem of its combination skill lightning 5 whips. It felt that its strength had improved, and its understanding of lightning had also improved, so it wanted to try lightning 6 whips. Okay, but this also tests your ability to control lightning. Let's do this. As he said, Zhang Xingyun exchanged a machine as tall as a person from the system. Electric shock monster, put your hand in, then release your lightning energy, and try to control it. This can be adjusted. When you reach this level 1, it proves that your ability to control lightning is in place, and you can try your lightning 6 whips. Zhang Xingyun pointed at the machine and said. Hey boo, the electric shock monster excitedly operated the machine. Q ho after the electric shock monster, the Kabutosaurus asked questions. This is a good thing, Kabutosaurus. This is a sign that it is about to evolve. It's just a little short of the right time. This is normal. Don't worry. Just be fine as usual. Zhang Xingyun comforted him softly. Kabutosaurus mentioned that he felt something strange in his body. He used his supernatural power to observe it and found that it was a sign that Kabutosaurus was about to evolve. According to the time, it was almost time. Kabutosaurus was also captured by him at about the same time as Bangulus. Now Bangulus has evolved, and Kabutosaurus is almost the same. I'm looking forward to it, Kabutosaurus. Your evolved form of Tyranitar is very majestic and domineering. After the evolution, you will be able to soar in the sky. Q ho ho, Kabutosaurus shouted happily, looking forward to the future, when he would fly in the blue sky and white clouds, and couldn't help but feel a little excited. Vegeta and the others had no problem, and they dispersed and started training. Zhang Xingyun stood in the group of elves, looking at one by one. There was nothing he could do about it. There were so many elves. Fortunately, Nidoking and his friends are obedient, highly qualified, have strong comprehension, and are not bad in self-discipline. He only needs to grasp the main direction of training. If he is as comprehensive as when they hatched at the beginning, he will be too busy to do anything. The training ground here is also relatively spacious, and the elves will not interfere with each other during training. Zhang Xingyun was also called over by Nangang Yeo to help her train the elves. Nangang Yeo agreed with many of his ideas, and trained the elves according to his ideas. The two exchanged their experiences in training elves and verified each other. If they didn't understand something, they would ask Pei Wenbin in the distance. During the training process, Liu Ruhan and several others also came to ask him for advice. He would not be stingy. He would answer what he knew, discuss what he didn't understand, and ask Pei Wenbin if he really didn't know. Facing more than a dozen students, Pei Wenbin was also very busy and encouraged everyone to do so. In this way, a few days passed in a fulfilling way, and Zhang Xingyun also gained a lot and learned a lot of training techniques. The elves have mastered some skills well. The lightning 6 whips of the electric shock monster has already taken shape and is not far from being fully mastered. Nidoking's strength is in the late stage of the Qua Seeking. The giant claw mantis is stronger than Nidoking and has reached the peak of the late stage of the Qua Seeking, but if the two fight, it is hard to say who will win. The two of them are also Zhang Xingyun's confidants. He is still looking forward to this Imperial University. He looks forward to fighting with young talents of the same level and communicating with elites of the same level. Chapter 491, Rushing to the Imperial Capital. During these few days, Zhang Xingyun also invited Fang Hongjian out for a few meals and took him for a walk in Magic City University. On this day, there were 50 or 60 people standing on the training ground of Magic City University, and Zhang Xingyun and his group were also in the crowd. Dean Lin and his group were talking to them. In short, this exchange and study in the Imperial Capital must show the style of our Magic City and the level of our Magic City University. Dean Lin was talking and mobilizing before the war. This time, Dean Lin would also go to the Imperial Capital University, and the exchange and study would not only be for the Elf Battle Department, but also for other departments. Okay, I'll stop here. Let's go. After talking for a long time, Dean Lin shouted. Everyone walked to the bus on the side took the bus to the Magic City airport, and took the plane arranged by the school to fly to the Imperial Capital. Imperial Capital, it's my first time to go there. Looking at the scenery outside the window, Zhang Xingyun smiled. The appearance of the Imperial Capital has only been seen on TV. From childhood to adulthood, he has never even left South Vietnam province. Joa, how many times have you been to the capital? Zhang Xingyun asked Nangan Yeo, who was sitting next to him. 3 or 4 times a year. When I was young, I went to school in the capital. Nangan Yeo smiled, revealing a look of nostalgia. I went to school in the capital. Yes, I not only studied in the capital, but also in the Magic City, Chang'an, and Jingling. I also went to school in these places, and finally Changning, a total of 5 places. Nangan Yeo stretched out her palm, revealing 5 white and tender fingers, and smiled quietly. Such a rich experience. When I was young, I studied in Changning City. Zhang Xingyun chuckled. Compared with her, his school trip seemed a bit monotonous. Hey Xingyun, do you want snacks? A hand holding snacks stretched out from the back seat and asked. Okay, then have some. Zhang Xingyun was not polite, took it, tore open the package and the two began to eat. After Lan Yuchen in the back delivered the snacks, he took the snacks to others. Lan Yuchen and Kan Xiaoming also came along for this trip to the Imperial Capital. The team leader, Pei Wenbin, had no objection and let them do what they wanted. Not only the two of them, but also Nangan Yeo's 2 roommates, Zi Mengmeng and Wang Zirao, also came along. It's just right to go to the Imperial Capital. The last time I went to the Imperial Capital was a few years ago. Lan Yuchen smiled and ate snacks leisurely. We are going to the Imperial Capital University this time. Xingyun, I want to see you show off your power and kill people indiscriminately. It's unlikely to kill people indiscriminately. There are many hidden talents in the Imperial Capital University. I heard from Teacher Pei that they have 3 trainers with the strength of a king. Zhang Xingyun shook his head. The Imperial Capital University is not weaker than their Magic City University. Zhang Xingyun feels that this exchange study will be a tough battle and will not be as easy as facing Jiangsu and Zhejiang University. After chatting for a while, everyone closed their eyes to rest. Whoosh, the plane flew steadily in the sky, shuttled through the white clouds, and flew quickly towards the direction of the Imperial Capital. With Deanlin and several big guys here, there is naturally full of security, and there is no need to worry about safety. At about 6 o'clock in the afternoon, the plane flew over the Imperial Capital. Looking down from the plane, part of the scene of the Imperial Capital came into view. High-rise buildings similar to those in the Magic City are crisscrossed, and traffic was crowded on the road. But unlike the Magic City, the innermost part of the Imperial Capital has fewer high-rise buildings, and there are more rows of elegant courtyards, which look a bit old. But these houses are precisely the most valuable, and only some people with status will live here. The outline of the Imperial City can be seen from a distance, just like the Imperial City and the impression of the previous life, with red walls and yellow tiles, carved beams and painted buildings, and high eaves. Under the sunlight at this time, a simple and solemn atmosphere came to the face. Are you looking at the Imperial City? Nangan Yeo next to him looked at Zhang Xingyun and asked. Well, that's the Imperial City, right? Zhang Xingyun replied, looking at it all the time. Yes, that's the Imperial City. If we have time these days, let's go there for a stroll. Okay, I've been admiring it for a long time. Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Buzz, half an hour later, the plane landed at the airport in the Imperial Capital, and Zhang Xingyun and his companions got off the plane. After getting off the plane, 3 people with extraordinary temperament came over and talked and laughed with Deanlin. It can be seen that they knew each other. Okay, I'll count the number of people. Pei Wenbin shouted and began to count the number of people. After counting once, he found that there was no omission, so he told Deanlin. Deanlin nodded, said a few words to Pei Wenbin, and then left with the 3 people who came over and got on a business car. Zhang Xingyun and his companions were also arranged to get on a bus with the words of Imperial Capital University printed on it, and several leading teachers followed. Last year, we arrived in the Imperial Capital at about the same time. Looking at the building retreating, Pei Wenbin said that last year he was also the leading teacher of Magic City University and brought the school team of Magic City University to the imperial capital for exchanges and studies. Yes, it has been like this for the past few years. An older man next to Pei Wenbin said. He is also the team leader of Magic City University and has been leading the team for several years. I don't know how they will perform this year. It should be better than last year. Pei Wenbin looked at Zhang Xingyun and the others who were chatting and said slowly, this year will definitely be better than in previous years. We should have confidence in them. This year, we have 2 trainers with superpowers in Magic City. It will definitely be better than last year. Another team leader said with a smile. I hope so. Pei Wenbin nodded slightly without comment. In the exchange study between Magic City University and Imperial Capital University, Magic City has not won many times. It feels like their exchange study with Imperial Capital University is like Jiangsu and Zhejiang University coming to Magic City University. The difference is that their Magic City University is like Jiangsu and Zhejiang University, while Imperial Capital University is like Magic City University. The status has changed. When they arrived at Imperial Capital University, Zhang Xingyun and the other 4 were arranged to live in an apartment, which happened to be a 4-person apartment. Okay, have a good rest, and get enough energy. The exchange and study will start tomorrow. Pei Wenbin and several leading teachers walked through the corridor of the apartment and said to the people in the room, rest early today. You will have a chance to perform tomorrow. Remember to show the style of our Magic City University. In the room, Zhang Xingyun and the other 3 made their beds and lay down on the soft bed. It feels like this is similar to where we live. Lan Yuchen looked at the decoration in the room and felt that it was similar to where they lived. Because the dormitory we live in is the best dormitory in Magic City University, so it is similar. Chapter 492 3 Trainers with Supreme Power. The next day, at about 8 o'clock in the morning, everyone, led by Pei Wenbin, came to the canteen of Imperial Capital University. Imperial Capital University also sent a reception teacher to assist Pei Wenbin in entertaining everyone who came to exchange and study. This is the first canteen of our Imperial Capital University, the middle-aged woman next to Pei Wenbin said, and led everyone into the first canteen of Imperial Capital University. Teacher Lee, you have renovated it. It was not like this when I came last year. Pei Wenbin looked at the decoration of the canteen and said with a smile, yes, it was renovated this summer vacation. The first canteen is very large, and various delicacies are hung on each window, with dishes from various provinces in China. Now it is breakfast time, and the most popular one is a Vietnamese morning tea. Let's eat here. The chefs and staff here are all invited from South Vietnam province. The taste are very good. Teacher Lee said, and everyone had no objection, so they walked in and opened a large private room. Everyone tasted it and found that the taste was not bad, very authentic. After eating, Teacher Lee took everyone to visit Imperial Capital University again. There is no rush for exchange and learning. As the host, the Imperial Capital University naturally has to show their background and take them to visit the equipment and training facilities in their university. After Zhang Xingyun and his friends finished the visit, they were not surprised at all, because these training facilities were almost the same as those of the Magic City University, so they were naturally not surprised. Okay, let's stop here. The front is a residence of the mythical beasts, so it's not convenient to entertain everyone. After walking around, Teacher Lee stopped and said to everyone, okay, let's go back the same way. It's just right to have lunch. Pei Wenbin responded, turned around and went back along the way. Mythical beasts. Are there many mythical beasts in the Imperial Capital University? Zhang Xingyun asked in confusion. Huh? Xingyun, don't you know? Pei Chenzhen asked. I don't know. I only know that the mythical beast of the Imperial Capital University is the dream god Cresselia. Zhang Xingyun said truthfully, which is also introduced on the official website of the Imperial Capital University. When you were in the hospital, the Imperial Capital University invited 3 beasts from a secret realm to the Imperial Capital University. They are Yuxi, Imrido, and Akanum. Pei Chenzhen explained, talking about the 3 beasts. I heard that the three beasts have not yet confirmed that they will settle in the Imperial Capital University, but it seems that it is a high probability, so the Imperial Capital University's official website has not updated the information yet. At the end, Page Engine added, "Oh, you didn't mention it when we chatted, so I naturally didn't know. Forgot." Zhang Xingyun looked at Lan Yujin and the others, and found that they also looked clear. They also knew it. This time, his news was out of date. "I heard that our school is also trying to get a beast to settle in our Magic City University. I don't know if this will work," Qian Xiuming suddenly said, saying that he heard it, but it was true. "Who?" Zhang Xingyun asked curiously. "I don't know yet. I only know that our school is inviting a beast, but I don't know which beast it is. In today's era, beasts are very important to famous universities. A university that can be called a famous school must have a mythical beast. A mythical beast brings not only fame, but also other great benefits. Therefore, universities that aspire to become famous schools have used all their resources and means to invite mythical beasts to their schools, which is also tacitly approved by the government. After everyone had lunch in the cafeteria, they were taken to the apartment for a nap and prepared for the afternoon battle. There were only a dozen of them in the apartment. Students from other majors who came with the same school were probably still communicating with students from the Imperial Capital University. Unlike their Pokémon Battle department, their exchange learning is real exchange learning, and the time is longer than theirs, ranging from more than 10 days to several months. And their Pokémon Battle department is similar to kicking the field, which is a few days of effort. During the lunch break, Zhang Xingyun took out his mobile phone and looked at a pile of information sent by Pei Wenbin. The information shows that there are 3 trainers with king level Pokémon in the Imperial Capital University this year. Long Yun, Ruan Xiaoyu, and Lin Fan. From the data, Long Yun is the biggest threat to me, but Lin Fan should not be underestimated. Zhang Xingyun murmured. From the data, Long Yun is the strongest among the 3. He has 2 elves with the power of the king, namely Garchomp and Charizard, both of which can super evolve. It was with these 2 elves that he won the championship of the freshman competition in the Imperial capital. Lin Fan, a name that is ordinary and ordinary. From the pictures in the data, he looks ordinary. The elves he cultivates are also ordinary. His trump elf is a giant bee, which also has the power of the king. The data also indicates that he is an ability user. With such a lineup, Zhang Xingyun naturally dare not take it lightly. The extraordinary exposed by such an ordinary is still extraordinary. It is impossible for ordinary people to cultivate such a giant bee. In a place like the Imperial Capital University, where there are so many talents, it can still fight through the siege. It is a ghost to say that it is ordinary. Interesting. Zhang Xingyun laughed as he pondered Lin Fan's information. It is unimaginable how difficult it is for a person to breed a Beedrill that is not inferior to a quasi-god, but he did it. It has the flavor of that man. In Zhang Xingyun's mind, he thought of the man in the anime in his previous life, who also bred a Beedrill that could defeat even a mythical beast. The only one left was a girl named Ruan Xiaoyu. Zhang Xingyun looked at her and compared them several times and felt that she was the least threatening. She is also an ability user, belonging to the ghost type of supernatural power, and her expertise is in the spiritual aspect. What Zhang Xingyun is least afraid of is this kind of ability user and this type of Pokémon. For ordinary trainers, she is very difficult to deal with, elusive, and unstoppable, but for him, it is not difficult. Zhang Xingyun is very confident that the level of supernatural power is not much different, and hypnosis can't interfere with him at all, unless it is an ability user or Pokémon who is several levels higher than him. But from the data, in this Imperial University freshman competition, the level of her ability was at the mid-stage of the quasi-king. Even if she had a breakthrough during this period, it would be at the late stage of the quasi-king at most. Even if she was at the peak of the quasi-king, Zhang Xingyun was not afraid. The king might be a little timid, but that was impossible. Even if she was timid, he had countermeasures, so Zhang Xingyun thought that her threat was the lowest among the 3. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493 Communication. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Pei Wenbin came to the door on time and called everyone. Everyone walked out of the room one after another and followed Pei Wenbin. Xingyun, wait and see what happens. Generally speaking, the stronger the better. Of course, this is generally the case. If it is not normal, you can do it yourself. Pei Wenbin instructed. Okay, I know. Well, you have a calm personality, so I'm relieved. Pei Wenbin nodded with satisfaction and said to Nangang Yao and others, going downstairs. The accompanying teacher Li was already waiting and took everyone to the Imperial Capital Elf Battle Hall. There are also audience seats and a viewing stand. However, this elf battle hall is not open air, but with a reasonable and appropriate design. The brightness is almost the same as outside. At this time, the battle hall was full of people on all sides, and the noise continued. On the rostrum, Dean Lin and others were drinking tea and chatting. I don't know what they said, which made several people laugh. The group coming towards us is the exchange group from Magic City University. Let's welcome them with warm applause. As everyone walked into the Imperial City Arena, a loud and powerful broadcast was heard on the field. Pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa-pa. As soon as the voice fell, warm applause broke out on the field. Brothers and sisters, hold your heads high, chests out, and buttocks lifted. Lan Yachin suddenly said. PFFT. I'm laughing to death. Several people in the team were amused and waved to the people in the audience in response. I just saw that you were a little nervous, Lan Yachin said while waving his hands. Why are you waving so hard? It's like you are the protagonist. Xingyun and the others are the protagonists today. Zimeng pulled Lan Yachin's sleeve and signaled him. You don't understand, right? I'm losing the fight, not the battle. I can't play, but I can't lose the momentum. You're only good at talking. If we were to compete, I'd ask you, the king of talking, to go up, and you'd definitely win. Everyone went to the seats prepared for the contestants and sat down, waiting for the arrangements. Pei Wenbin looked at his phone, put it away, walked in front of everyone and said, the people from Imperial Capital University will be here soon, sit down for a while. At this time, the broadcast sounded, and a team of 14 people, led by a team leader, walked into the venue. The crowd burst into warm applause again, louder than when they walked in. The number of people was the same as this, so it should be arranged by the school, depending on the specific situation. Haha, you're still the team leader this year, Wenbin. The team leader of Imperial Capital University came over and greeted Pei Wenbin. Yes, Wengxing, aren't you the team leader this year? Pei Wenbin walked up and shook hands with the visitor. Haha, I haven't seen you for a year. Yeah. The two of them exchanged pleasantries. In the square of Imperial Capital University, there were 2 men and 1 woman. One of the men had handsome features, a high nose bridge, a dignified appearance, and bright eyes. There was a hint of nobility in his eyebrows and eyes, as if he was an aristocrat. The other man was much more ordinary, with ordinary looks and plain clothes. He looked like an ordinary boy. The girl was tall, fair-skinned, and beautiful, with a smile on her lips, which made people feel like spring breeze, and increased their favorability. The more than 10 people behind the 3 of them were also extraordinary and confident. Long Yun, Lin Fan, Xiaoyu, you must entertain the students who came from afar, Tang Wengshan said with a smile. You are still like this, and you were the same last year. Pei Wenbin shook his head. Alas, this is all for living. The bonus is not low. Don't come on. Pei Wenbin interrupted Tang Wengshan directly. The two seemed to be very familiar with each other. Things are different now. This year, our Magic City may not lose by a narrow margin. Oh, you are so confident. If you don't believe me, we can just wait and see. By the way, shall we bet? Pei Wenbin challenged. Bet? Of course I will bet. How can I refuse something that is given for free? Tang Wengshan also became excited and discussed the stakes with Pei Wenbin. Long Yun. Zhang Xingyun. In the crowd, Long Yun walked straight towards Zhang Xingyun and stopped in front of him. Zhang Xingyun also stood up and greeted him. The two introduced themselves. I know you are the strongest in your team, so I want to challenge you. Long Yun said concisely and directly, with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. It can be seen at a glance that he is a battle maniac, a trainer who loves fighting. Oh, the one next to me is not weak. How can you be so sure? Zhang Xingyun smiled. No need. She has been defeated by you. Long Yun spoke simply again, being frugal with words. Okay, I accept your challenge. Zhang Xingyun replied immediately. For a direct Long Yun, a simple and direct response is best. Second round. Okay. Yeah. Long Yun showed a satisfied smile and stepped back. What a cold guy. He only speaks a few words and only talks to Xingyun and doesn't take us seriously at all. Lang Yuchen at the back of the crowd complained to Qian Ziming. The two were chatting telepathically and were not afraid of being heard. They pursue different things. He doesn't need anything else. He only wants to fight. Xingyun is the strongest on our side, so naturally I will find Xingyun, otherwise I will find you. Qian Ziming looked at Lan Yuchen and said lightly, if I find you, all your elves will go on the field, and I guess you can't even beat one of his elves. What's the point of finding you? That's what happened, but can you say that? I don't want face. While the two people at the back were talking nonsense, Zhang Xingyun was chatting with Ruan Xiao and Lin Fan. Unlike Long Yun, Ruan Xiao and Lin Fan seemed very sociable. After chatting with Zhang Xingyun for a while, they chatted with others and then returned to their respective places. After everyone chatted for a while, they heard their respective team leaders shouting. Then one person walked out of the two teams and walked to the stage. The one from the Imperial Capital University was a tall and thin boy, and the one from the Magic City University was Mo Yanling, who had fought with Zhang Xingyun before. The two fought fiercely on the battlefield. Soon, Mo Yanling's Dream Demon defeated the boy's cat boss and took the lead in winning the first victory. See, I said that our Magic City is different this year. This time we took the lead in winning the first game. Pei Wenbin said proudly. I'll let you play first. You're a guest from afar, so the outcome will be the same as last year. Wenbin, remember to prepare your bet money. Tang Wengshan replied, and then continued, I don't understand why you are so confident. This year, you only have 2 trainers with the strength of a king in the Magic City, while we have 3. No matter what, our chances of winning are higher. Chapter 494 Flame Chicken. Anyway, I just have confidence. Pei Wenbin smiled and looked at Zhang Xingyun and the others. Oh, then let's wait and see. On the field, Mo Yanling was still fighting. The two did not choose the most time-saving 1 vs 1, but chose 3 vs 3. The 2 elves on the field at this moment were the last elves of the 2. Bang! Super Ice Ghost Guard fell to the ground, and the Super Cursed Doll took the opportunity to attack, bombarding with multiple shadow balls. Boom boom boom. After a rumble, the Ice Ghost Guard was revealed in the smoke. At this time, the Ice Ghost Guard exited the super evolution state and lost consciousness. So far, this battle was won by Mo Yanling, winning the first battle. Pa pa pa. Applause rang out from all directions, applauding for her. Okay, it's my turn. Zhang Xingyun said, stood up, and stepped onto the battlefield with the cheers of his classmates beside him. Buzz buzz buzz. After walking onto the field, a mechanical rumble sounded in the sky, and the sky above the battlefield was opening outwards. What battle mode do you want? You are the guest, so you choose. Long Yun stood on the other side, and raised his hand to signal. How about 3 vs 3? Zhang Xingyun said. The mainstream battle modes at this stage are 1 vs 1, 3 vs 3, and 6 vs 6. Zhang Xingyun finally felt that 3 vs 3 was better. It didn't take long, and could show strength. Okay. Long Yun responded, and took out a Pokeball from his belt, and held it in his hand. Zhang Xingyun also took out a Pokeball from his belt. At the referee's announcement, they all threw out Pokeballs. Chakami Blaziken and Blastoise appeared on the field together, and stood opposite each other. During this period of time, Blastoise has also made some progress, and its strength has increased from the early stage of Quasi-King to the middle stage of Quasi-King, and it has also improved in other aspects. Water vs. Fire. I have a small advantage in this game. Zhang Xingyun looked at the 2 Pokémon on the field and smiled faintly. It's just an advantage. Blaziken Super Evolution. Long Yun shouted, and the brilliant evolution light flashed, illuminating the two. Super Evolution. Zhang Xingyun also activated the Super Evolution, and a brilliant evolution light also lit up. The next moment, Mega Blaziken and Mega Blaziken appeared on the field. The appearance of Mega Blaziken did not change much after Mega Evolution. Compared with ordinary Blaziken, the position of the sideburns on the head of Super Blaziken changed, and the horns on the head changed from 2 to 1. Black patterns also appeared on the body, and 4 long flames appeared on the arms. The information of Super Blaziken was also on the display interface of the system. Name, Blaziken, male, Super Evolution, attributes, fire, fighting characteristics, acceleration qualification, deep blue strength, Qua-seeking peak skills, flying knee kick, claws, howl, flash charge, sparks, sand throwing, double kick, gathering energy, jet flame, big word explosion, stuntman. It can be seen that this Blaziken has been carefully cultivated, with very high qualifications and many moves. It is also Long Yun's capable assistant and a Pokémon that he focuses on cultivating. Qua-seeking late stage strength. If it is only this strength, it will not work if it only relies on a little attribute advantage. Feeling the breath of Blastoise, Long Yun said lightly, then how about this? Zhang Xingyun immediately performed a spirit attachment technique, and the breath of Blastoise instantly broke through and reached the peak of the late stage of Qua-seeking. This is interesting. Long Yun smiled and began to command Super Blaziken. Blaze, spray flames. Chablazu water cannon. Kami. The collision of fire and water made a sizzling sound, and a large amount of water mist filled the air. Chablaze ran quickly, circled behind Blaze, and kicked directly at it with 1 kick and 2 kicks. Blaze's actions had long been sensed by Blaze's Wava guide. When it ran over, Blaze had accumulated power in the cannons on both arms. With the power of Blaze's kick, 2 dragon waves shot out from the cannons on both arms, sweeping towards Blaze. At the critical moment, Blaze also realized that it was not good, changed its kick to a charge, and burned with hot flames all over its body, and rushed forward. Bang! Blaze was pushed more than 10 meters away, with minor injuries on both hands. In this contest, Blaze got a little advantage. Chablaze started running, looking for an opportunity. Kami Blastoise raised its arms, and fired 2 wave missiles, chasing Blaziken, but they were dispersed, and its body also paused for a moment. Blastoise fired another wave of dragon waves. Boom! Blaziken jumped out of the smoke, seemingly unaffected. Blazu releases the wave guide, with itself as the origin, and the range is 20 meters. Blazer has the acceleration characteristic, and the speed will get faster and faster. Be prepared, let's use the slow to beat the fast. Zhang Xingyun's voice rang beside Blastoise's ears. Kami Blastoise realized something, raised his fist and hit in one direction, just hitting Blaziken's claws. Seeing that the sneak attack failed, Blaziken retreated, and a large word of explosion condensed and pushed towards Blaziken. The cannon on Blastoise's back flickered with a faint light, and a water gun sprayed out. Blaziken rushed over again, killing Blaziken from the side. With the help of the Wava guide, Blastoise also knew its position and was ready. As soon as he raised his hand, 3 wave missiles surrounded Blastoise's body. Under Blastoise's control, they came from 3 directions. Blastoise's fists were cold, and under Zhang Xingyun's teleportation, it disappeared from the spot. Blaziken had just fired the wave missiles when it suddenly felt a sound coming from behind, and a cold energy in the air. It turned on the spot, and a vortex of flames formed with it as the center and covered it. Bang! Blastoise's freezing fist passed through the flames and hit Blaziken's chest. Blaziken flew backwards under this attack, and the vortex of flames that had just formed also collapsed. Kami Blastoise was burned by the flames, but as a water type, it was not hurt much. Facing Blaziken's direction, 3 cannons fired at the same time, firing 3 dragon-shaped energies, which merged into a huge dragon head shape in the air and pounced over. Boom! After an explosion, a large cloud of black smoke rose up from the field. Flame Chicken emerged from the smoke. This time it looked a little embarrassed, with many feathers falling off its body. Bang bang bang! Blastoise's attack came again, and Flame Chicken had to hide and wait for an opportunity. This is because of the Wava guide, Long Yun said. After several rounds of fighting, He also knew the situation of Blastoise. Chapter 495. Nidoking enters the stage. Blaziken attacked again and again, but never got the upper hand, and was beaten back by Blastoise. No matter how fast Blaziken was blocked every time he got close. Bang, Blaziken was beaten back again, standing there panting slightly. These attacks consumed a lot of his physical strength. You are worthy of being the champion of the freshman competition in the Magic City. It's interesting to fight against an opponent like you, so that I can find out my shortcomings. The fighting spirit in Long Yun's eyes became stronger and stronger. For him, fighting with a powerful trainer was the most pleasant thing. Even though Blaziken was at a disadvantage at this time, he didn't care. A sound of breaking through the air came, and Blaziken appeared next to Blastoise again, and fought with Blastoise. This time, Blaziken attacked swiftly, with a wide range of moves, and abandoned some defensive means. Blastoise also had more injuries. Flash Charge, Rocket Headbutt, Flame Jet, Water Cannon Attack. Bang, 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 there were bursts of explosions on the battlefield, smoke and dust billowed, and earth and rocks collapsed. The field was bumpy, as if it had been plowed. Blue's most powerful Dragon Wave. Came. Blastoise sent out a Dragon Wave, carrying the poorly conditioned Blaziken, and smashed it to the ground with a bang. Looking closely, Blaziken had lost its ability to fight, and had lost consciousness. The field was filled with thunderous applause, offering their fierce applause to the two Pokémons. Come back, Blaziken. Long Yun calmly took back Blaziken, then took out a Pokéball, and threw it out. Raw Charizard flew out of the Pokéball, roared, and spewed a stream of flames from its mouth. The flames burning on its tail became more and more vigorous. Came. Blastoise asked to stay and fight Charizard, asking him to fight. Okay. Zhang Xingyun naturally had no objection. It was a good thing that Blastoise had this idea, so he naturally would not refuse. The Charizard on the opposite side also knew that it was Blastoise who defeated Flame Chicken, and looked at it with hostility. Aren't you going to take it back? Your Blastoise is not in a good condition. Long Yun saw that he did not take Blastoise back, so he reminded him. No, this is also what Blastoise asked for. Zhang Xingyun replied with a smile. Long Yun did not persuade him anymore, and after the referee's order came out, he launched an attack. Raw Charizard soared into the sky and swooped down with a flash charge. Blastoise used the ultimate impact to meet it, and the two sides collided in mid-air. The stalemate lasted less than a second, and Blastoise was pushed back and hit the ground with a bang. Raw Charizard grabbed Blastoise tightly and rushed into the sky to transfer, which was a move from the earth. Blastoise did not sit still and wait for death. When it was thrown down, it used a water gun on the ground to ease the downward impact. Charizard saw that it did not achieve the desired effect, so it turned around and flew over again, its wings glowing like steel. It was a steel wing move. A huge wave missile condensed in Blastoise's hand, and when Charizard approached, it flew away. Boom! After an explosion, Blastoise and Charizard both retreated. Charizard retreated a few steps, then stopped, and shot a Dragon's Wrath from its mouth. Bang! In the smoke and dust, Blastoise was still standing. Its breath was weak, and it also withdrew from the super evolution state. Opposite it, Charizard was staring at it, ready to attack again at any time. Charizard did not super evolve, but its strength was extremely strong, reaching the peak of the late Quasi King, infinitely close to the king, and it had used the power of the king many times to fight, so it had the upper hand against Blastoise, who was in poor condition from the beginning. Seeing that Blastoise was still standing, Charizard rushed over again and fought with Blastoise. After a fierce battle, Blastoise fell to the ground and lost its ability to fight. You have tried your best, take a good rest. Zhang Xingyun took out the Pokéball, collected Blastoise, and then took out Nidoking's Pokéball and threw it out. Nido, the majestic Nidoking, appeared on the field, and his tall body was extremely intimidating. Nidoking, Charizard, be careful, this is a powerful opponent. Long Yun looked at the imposing Nidoking. His expression became serious, and he immediately took out the keystone and started the super evolution. On the field, Nidoking also shone slightly, and the light faded, and the bonded Nidoking appeared on the field. Wow, how is it possible? Nidoking can evolve again. Oh my god, how can Nidoking evolve again? Why can't my Nidoking? Didn't they say that Nidoking doesn't have a super evolution state? The appearance of the bonded Nidoking shocked the audience on the field. Several bigwigs on the rostrum also looked over. Nidoking evolved again. This is rare. A person next to Dean Lin said. The person who spoke was an old man with slightly grey hair, a resolute face, and a goatee. His name is Zhao Hui, the old president of Imperial Capital University. He has been retired for many years and is living in the Imperial Capital. He is also a powerful person with unfathomable strength. The incident of the divine beast that happened to be in Imperial Capital University these days stayed in Imperial Capital University. Yes, this is indeed very rare. As soon as Zhao Hui finished speaking, several other people on the field echoed. On the battlefield, Nidoking and Charizard were fighting. Mega Charizard X fell from the sky. Double Dragon Claws came out at the same time and hit each other with Nidoking's Shadow Claws. Squeak squeak, the collision of claws made an unpleasant friction sound and sporadic sparks. Nidoking's Iron Tail and Charizard X's Dragon Tail collided with a muffled sound. Nidoking stomped his feet on the ground, increased his strength, and threw Charizard away. Boom, 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 the ground squirmed a few times, and a dozen stone pillars rose up, surrounding the retreating Charizard. Our Charizard let out a loud dragon roar, and burst out from the stone pillars. Nidoking teleported in front of Charizard, who had just escaped, and raised his fist to hit it. Boom, Charizard fell to the ground due to this attack. Boom, boom, the ground shook, and invisible waves flowed on the ground towards Charizard. Charizard, fly up. Raw Charizard flapped its wings and flew up. Boom, several energy bursts exploded in the original place, and hard stones flew up. Charizard used its dragon claws to smash the exploded stones. Just as a huge rock was smashed, Nidoking appeared in front of him, grabbed one of Charizard's hands, swung it around his back, and threw it to the ground. Chapter 496, Landshark appears. Boom, under the huge force of Nidoking, Charizard was thrown directly to the ground, creating a big pit. Raw Charizard shook his head and roared. Puff, the ground squirmed a few times, and more than 10 sharp stone pillars rose up and attacked it. Charizard's eyes became sharp, and his claws moved together. Several green lights flashed, and the stone pillars were cut on the spot. Boom, Nidoking appeared in front of it again, raised his fist and hit it. Charizard used steel wings, folded in front of him to take Nidoking's attack, retreated backwards, adjusted his body in the air, and flapped his wings to fly into the sky. Charizard X in the air panted, and carefully paid attention to his surroundings. Nidoking's strength was beyond its imagination, and also beyond the imagination of its trainer. Long Yun on the field also had a very solemn expression, thinking of countermeasures in his mind. The figure of Nidoking on the ground disappeared again, and the next moment he appeared behind Charizard, with light emitting from the spikes on his arms, forming a purple blade of light that slashed down. Charizard used the Dragon Tail. Raw Charizard flew into the air, and the green Dragon Tail collided with the purple blade of light on Nidoking's arm, and both fell down in opposite directions. Boom, the two fell to the ground, smashing a big hole in the ground. In the hole, Nidoking and Charizard started a close battle again. Raw Nido flames and lightning shot out from the smoke. Long Yun seemed a little anxious, staring at the smoke closely. He was not a power user, so he couldn't see the scene of the smoke flying in the air. He could only roughly judge the battle inside by the roar and moves. Zhang Xingyun seemed a little calm. Through his supernatural power, he could see the scene in the smoke. Raw Charizard flew out of the smoke again, and with a bang, it hit a boulder on the field. Nidoking slowly walked out of the smoke, and the rock armor condensed on his body fell off in a large area, and there were several scratches on his body. In the previous battle, it was also attacked by Charizard, but its attack on Charizard was stronger than Charizard's attack on it. Nidoking Freeze Beam. Zhang Xingyun issued a combat order, and a cold beam of light shot towards Charizard. Charizard Spray Flame. Raw's Izzy the freezing beam and the spray of flame met in midair, stalemated for a few seconds, and then pushed towards Charizard. Fly up. Seeing that it was impossible to do anything, Charizard quickly flew into the sky to avoid the freezing beam. Nidoking's Cold Thorn move. Nido Charizard Flame Whirlpool. Raw, the cold thorns were turned into powder by the flame whirlpool. Nidoking's mouth was shining with stars, and he was ready to destroy the death ray. Swoosh, the destructive death beam was fired, shooting towards Charizard, breaking up the flame vortex. Boom, after an explosion, a huge mushroom ball rose up, and a figure with black smoke fell from the smoke ball, and fell to the ground with a snap. Woo, Charizard flapped its wings, and slowly stood up, looking at Nidoking stubbornly with a pair of dragon eyes. Wow, is the second Nidoking so strong? Such a powerful Charizard was also suppressed by Nidoking. After all, he is also a level 1 king. Why is he so cruel? On the stage, Lang Yuchen exclaimed. It was really Nidoking's performance that was too eye-catching. Super Charizard X, who was also a level 1 king, was beaten back step by step. This speed of progress is really embarrassing. Qian Xiaoming also looked ashamed. The spirits of him and Lan Yuchen were only promoted to the quasi-level king some time ago, while he, who lived in the same dormitory, was already groping at the level of king. This was too discouraging. No, I can't be idle anymore. After I go back, I have to work hard to train Pokémons and become stronger. Me too. Zhang Xingyun's strong performance also stimulated the two, making them more determined to become stronger. Our Charizard let out a loud dragon roar and was knocked to the ground by Nidoking. Several rounds of earth power attacked nearby, and it was blown up again. After landing, it slowly got up again. Nidoking teleported and appeared in front of it again. He hit it with a freezing punch and was knocked up again. The place where it was hit was still covered with broken ice. He teleported again and came in front of Charizard. He stepped on Charizard with one foot. There was a little starlight flashing at the corner of his mouth, which was a destructive death light. Boom, there was a turbulence on the ground. Dust splashed, and soil and rocks collapsed. After the smoke and dust dissipated, Nidoking was still standing there. Charizard had retreated to the super evolution state, lost consciousness, and lay on the side. Haha, how's it going, Wengsham? Did my student perform well? Pei Wenbin said with a smile on the stage, looking somewhat proud. Nidoking was beating Charizard the whole time. There's still one more Pokémon. The outcome is still unknown. Tang Wengshan turned his head and said lightly, "Oh, really? How bad do you think Nidoking, who is close to the strength of the middle stage of the king, will lose?" In this battle, Nidoking only consumed some physical strength, and his injuries were not serious, so my chances of winning are still quite high. Wengshan, hurry up and prepare the bet. Pei Wenbin said with a smile. Let's talk about it later. It hasn't been lost yet, so why are you in such a hurry? After all, there are not many chances to beat you. On the field, Long Yun put Charizard back into the Pokeball and picked up a Pokeball. You are the strongest person I have met in the exchange competition. The 3 universities in front are not as strong as you. Long Yun said seriously. Haha, you're too kind. I'm serious. You're one of the few trainers I've seen who can train Nidoking to this level. My trump card Pokémon is coming next, so be careful. Come out, Garchomp. Raw Garchomp appeared on the field, looking straight at Nidoking. Gargoyle? Zhang Xingyun muttered, looking at Garchomp's information on the system. Name, Garchomp, male, attribute, dragon, ground characteristics, rough skin qualification, light purple strength, quasi-king peak skills, sand throw, sandstorm, dragon's fury, impact, flame fang, dragon's fury, quicksand hell, double slash, dragon claw, destruction beam, hold, rock blockade, spike attack, dragon tail, rock slide, dragon god dive. Garchomp is a bipedal Pokémon with dragon characteristics. Most of its body is blue, and its abdomen is red, and extends all the way to its lower jaw. The lower end of the red part has a golden diamond-shaped structure, and there is also a golden cross pattern on the snout. The appendages on its head resemble the engines of a painted airplane, and it has 4 fins on its body, 1 on each arm, a dorsal fin, and a caudal fin similar to that of a shark, and its hind limbs and arms have spikes. Chapter 497 Bloody Slash. Griffin, it looks like you're not far from breaking through to the king level. Zhang Xingyun said softly, sensing the aura of Garchomp. Speaking of which, this is the first time my Garchomp has appeared in these exchange matches. The previous few times were all defeated by my Charizard, and my Garchomp was not needed at all. Long Yun said with some complacency. Most of the elves in the previous exchange matches were new to the king level, and they were all defeated by Charizard. Then I'll come and learn from you. I couldn't ask for more. Super evolved Garchomp. Roar. A flash of light passed, and a brand new Garchomp appeared on the field. The super evolved Garchomp became larger, and many parts of its body, including the head and shoulders, became angular. There were 10 more spikes on its abdomen. Its hands turned into red blades, and red spikes grew on its knees. It was also taller than the average elf of its kind, reaching 2.5 meters. Raw Garchomp roared, and with its ferocious body, it exuded a powerful dragon-type pressure. If some timid Pokémon were to be scared silly by this roar, but Nidoking would obviously not. Nidoking roared back, with the same momentum as it. I'm going to attack Nidoking. The two Pokémon stood opposite each other, and neither of them took the initiative to attack. Since you don't want to attack, then I won't be polite. Garchomp Dragon God Dive. Roar. Although Garchomp is a ground-type dragon Pokémon, it can fly, and its flying speed is not slow. It can fly at the speed of sound. The small and sharp scales on its body can reduce air resistance, and can also hurt the opponent. Hold on. Boom. A sharp explosion sounded on the field, and the two Pokémon collided fiercely. Bite. Garchomp, wrapped in layers of dragon-type energy, was advancing, while Nidoking in the emerald green shield was defending. Nidoking slowly retreated, his feet leaving deep marks on the ground, but Garchomp still couldn't break through Nidoking's defense. Garchomp's body stagnated, and he changed his charge to a chop. The blood-colored blades on his hands emitted a dazzling blood-colored light, forming two blood-colored blades, which chopped down. Crack. Seeing that it was effective, Garchomp increased his strength, and in an instant, he chopped out hundreds of blood-colored blades, which chopped on Nidoking's defense. Nidoking's shield was instantly chopped into pieces, and the pieces of the shield turned into green starlight and dissipated in the air. Bang. He chopped on the ground, making several rumbling sounds. Nidoking had been teleported away by Zhang Xingyun a few seconds ago, avoiding this attack. There was a wound on Nidoking's arm, which was just chopped by Garchomp, and his face couldn't help but become particularly solemn. Among the same level, it was the first time that its guard was broken. At this time, a word popped up in Nidoking's mind. A strong enemy. A strong enemy that is stronger than Charizard. A strong enemy that it needs to fight with all its strength. How is the power of Garchomp slash? This is my masterpiece, carefully trained. Looking at the repelled Nidoking, Longyun said with a smile. Very strong. Zhang Xingyun replied very pertinently. Even Nidoking's guard can be broken, which can be said to be strong. Ha ha ha. Hearing Zhang Xingyun's praise, Longyun laughed, and was very pleased. Gargoyle. Another slash. Bite. Garchomp was like a cannonball, and it killed in front of Nidoking with a bang, and raised its hand to slash down with two blood blades. Nidoking was too short of hands, and two purple light blades condensed in his hands, and went up to meet it. Clang clang clang. When the two sides attacked, the sound of metal clashing was heard. Bang. Nidoking retreated backwards, and the purple blade on his arm disappeared. The opposing Garchomp was full of energy, and rushed forward again. In this blade duel, Nidoking obviously lost to Garchomp. Nidoking still has shortcomings in this aspect. I have to pay attention to it in the next training. Zhang Xingyun touched his chin and said. Garchomp's fighting style also woke him up. In the previous competition, Nidoking's speed was still slow, and the quality of the condensed blade was also worse than Garchomp's bloody blade. These were the shortcomings exposed, and could be used as the focus of the next training. The two Pokémons on the field started a contest again, and with a bang, they both retreated. Nidoking's abdomen, arms, and back all had several cuts, and blood was flowing. They were left by Garchomp just now. Garchomp had several punch marks on his body, and there were still ice chips. Nidoking fired a freezing ray, but Garchomp responded with a dragon's fury, which collided with the freezing ray. The life orb on Nidoking flickered, increasing its power and slowly pushed towards Garchomp. Bite. Garchomp jumped on the spot, avoiding the freezing ray, and attacking from the side. Nidoking condensed several shadow balls and threw them. Bang bang bang. Garchomp slashed at the shadow balls, making a series of explosions. Bang. Garchomp had just destroyed a shadow ball when Nidoking appeared in front of him, raising his fist to attack, and cold air came out. Garchomp raised his hand to block and took the attack. Bang, both of them landed on the ground. Garchomp slashed horizontally, and Nidoking raised his fist to attack, and the two sides fought again in close combat. Nidoking's punches were powerful, while Garchomp's slashes were light and flexible. One was heavy, the other was light, and the punch and the blade were slamming against each other. Bite. Garchomp slashed through the rock armor wrapped around Nidoking's shoulder. Nidoking's fist slammed into Garchomp's abdomen. Nido bite Nidoking, and Garchomp looked at each other. Their eyes became sharp, and they increased their attack power. There were also two forces fighting on the ground, and the ground was squirming. Bite. Garchomp retreated slightly and rushed forward. Nidoking jumped and met him with a double kick. Bang, there was a muffled sound, and they both retreated. Garcho, Dragon Star Cluster. Bite. Garchomp stood still. A dazzling light flashed on his body, and with a bang, a group of dragon stars shot into the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The dragon star cluster that shot up into the sky turned into dragon stars and smashed down. Boom boom boom. After a burst of dragon star clusters, smoke and dust rolled on the field, and holes of different sizes could be seen everywhere, and the field was in ruins. Nidoking flashed in front of Garchomp, and the destructive death light on his mouth was ready to go, and blasted out the moment he appeared. Boom. Another explosion sounded on the field. Chapter 498. Nidoking's defeat. Bite. Whoosh. A beam of destructive death light containing the power of destruction shot out from the small smoke, and rushed straight towards Nidoking. In a hurry, Nidoking took a defensive posture to resist the attack. Bang, there was an explosion where Nidoking was, and the next second Nidoking appeared on top of Garchomp's head and kicked it. At the critical moment, it was Zhang Xingyun who used teleportation to help Nidoking avoid the destructive death light and send Nidoking to the top of Garchomp's head. Bang, with a critical moment, Garchomp retreated and dodged. Nidoking kicked the ground, and a big pit immediately appeared. Several light yellow energy flashed in the crack of the pit, and rushed straight away. As soon as Garchomp made a move, Nidoking disappeared again, and appeared in front of it, rushing to kill it. Boom. In the middle of the two, the ground collapsed. Boom. Then the ground shook, and more than a dozen stone pillars drilled out of the ground, and rushed straight to the middle. Raw. Nido rumble. After a noise, the field became quiet. Raw. Bang. In the smoke, there was a roar of Garchomp, and then it soared into the sky from the smoke. The momentum became more and more fierce, and his eyes gradually turned red. The bonded Nidoking was in the pit, looking up at Garchomp in the sky, secretly gathering strength. Raw. Garchomp turned on the spot, wrapped in a layer of dragon-shaped energy coat, and a powerful pressure rushed towards him. Nidoking slapped the ground with both hands, and a rumbling sound was heard on the field. Stone pillars broke out of the ground one after another. Under Nidoking's control, they flew towards Garchomp like cannonballs. A wave of air jumped out from behind Garchomp, dodging left and right, avoiding the attack from the gap, and quickly killed Nidoking. Bang. Nidoking teleported to one side and shot a destructive death beam into the pit. Bite. Garchomp roared in the pit, his eyes red as he rushed out and attacked again. Nidoking was not afraid, and went to meet him. The two sides started fighting again. The applause on the field rang out from time to time, applauding the two brave elves. Bite. The two retreated again, looked at each other, and gasped. At this point, no one would give up easily. Nidoking's body changed, and he withdrew from the bonded state, and turned into a normal form. His strength also dropped to the level of a king. Bite. The aura of Garchomp also became weak, but it was much stronger than Nidoking, and it had not yet withdrawn from the super evolution state. Nidoking had no choice but to face it head on. Bang bang bang. Garchomp's dragon claws grabbed Nidoking's shoulders. But at this time, Nidoking had given up on defense, and attacked with all his strength. Its thick tail wrapped around Garchomp, hindering its movement. It shot out a freezing ray of light from its mouth, but its lower jaw was hit by Garchomp, changing its direction. Its body shook, and it fell to the ground. Bite. Garchomp held Nidoking down. A faint light flickered around its mouth, emitting a great breath of destruction. Nidoking teleported again, came behind Garchomp, wrapped its arms around its head, and flipped on the ground. At this time, Garchomp's destructive death ray just shot out, and hit the ground. Boom. Nidoking and Garchomp were each blown up. Snap. Nidoking fell to one side, moving slightly. Garchomp adjusted his posture in midair and landed slowly. Nidoking shouted a few times, struggled to get up, and suddenly his body stagnated, and he fell down again with a snap, losing consciousness. Nidoking has lost his ability to fight. Garchomp wins this battle. Please send out the remaining Pokémon within the specified time. The referee shouted at the right time. Thank you for your hard work, Nidoking. I'll tell your partner the rest. Zhang Xingyun picked up the Pokéball, took Nidoking back, and then picked up the Pokéball of Mantis. My Nidoking is an ever victorious general in my hands. I didn't expect to be defeated by you here today, Zhang Xingyun said with a smile. Nidoking has almost never lost in battles of the same level since Nidolang. But today he was defeated by Garchomp, which is worthy of its name as a quasi-god. Your Nidoking is also quite powerful, and my Garchomp is also seriously injured. I only see you who can cultivate Nidoking to this point. Longyun said seriously. The next Pokémon is also my capable general. Be careful. Come out, Mantis. Hassan Mantis Super Evolution. A flash of light passed, and Super Mantis appeared on the field. Spirit Attachment. He cast another Spirit Attachment, which made the aura of the giant mantis rise step by step, infinitely close to the strength of the middle stage of the king. Puff, the aura of the giant mantis was lost, and it directly entered the middle stage of the king. Hassan, it can actually reach the middle stage of the king, Zhang Xingyun said in surprise. He was only hovering at the peak of the early stage a few days ago, but he didn't expect to have a temporary breakthrough today, and entered the middle stage of the king. Longyun on the opposite side frowned. His lee-biting Tyrannosaurus did not have much physical strength, and was not in good condition. If it was a newcomer to the early stage of the king, he would still have the strength to fight, but if it was a middle stage, the chances of winning would become very small. I won't be polite, giant mantis, Zhang Xingyun ordered. Hassan the giant mantis flashed, as fast as a red lightning, and rushed straight to the lee-biting Tyrannosaurus. Lee-biting Tyrannosaurus's double blades were bright, and he was on guard. Air slash. Hassan several invisible air slashes slashed down, and as soon as they approached, they were chopped apart by Garchomp's blood blade. Whoosh, Mantis suddenly appeared on it, with a faint light on its fist, and quickly blasted over. Garchomp had difficulty resisting. Clang, the sound of metal clashing rang out on the field. Bite in the duel, Garchomp was blasted back and retreated. It was very fast, but Mantis was faster than it. As its fists and blades crossed, it was hit several times. Whoosh, Mantis appeared behind it, crossed its hands, and slashed fiercely. Garchomp quickly blocked it, and was thrown out again. If it was in its prime, Mantis's attack would not have had such an effect, but now it has consumed a lot of physical strength after the battle with Nidoking, and it has been severely injured, and it is a little unable to react. Griffin, Dragon Star Cluster. Swoosh, a dazzling dragon star cluster rose to the sky and scattered all over the ground. Bang bang bang, the giant claw mantis shuffled among the dragon star cluster. With the blessing of Zhang Xingyun's teleportation and its own speed, the falling dragon stars could not hurt it. Griffin's left. Bite. Whoosh, the giant claw mantis suddenly appeared on its right side, and all its attacks hit the fierce bite of the shark. Chapter 499, Losing Streak and Dragon Clan Celebration. Boom, a figure flew by quickly, and with a bang, it fell on the ground, adding another big hole to the broken place. Lying in the hole was Garchomp. Bite. Garchomp slowly stood up with his claws, and his breathing became heavier. Who, the scarlet color in his pupils slowly dissipated, and his breath became weaker and weaker. As soon as he raised his head, the attack of the giant claw mantis came again, and he was knocked away again in an instant. This time, his feet scraped the ground to avoid falling, and his wings moved slightly, and he stood up and flew. Hassan, a red figure flashed by, and the giant claw mantis appeared above its head, and the ultimate attack was ready. Boom, the smoke and dust flew up again, and the Garchomp in the smoke and dust was still struggling to stand up. Roar, a dragon's anger shot out from it, hitting a shadow clone of the giant claw mantis, but it was useless. Bite, a burst of light appeared on Garchomp's body, and then he exited the super evolution state, and turned into a normal state. I still lost. Longyun on the field, sighed and said helplessly. When the giant claw mantis showed the breath of the middle stage of the king, he knew that he was probably defeated this time. The fierce bite shark in his prime could still fight with it, but at that time, the fierce bite shark had consumed a lot of physical strength, and was seriously injured. A minute later, the fierce bite shark fell to the ground and lost consciousness. The fierce bite shark has lost the ability to fight. The giant claw mantis won. The winner is Zhang Xingyun, the referee announced. As soon as the voice fell, there was a commotion on the field and fierce applause. Several people on the rostrum also congratulated Dean Lin. Dean Lin smiled and responded to everyone. Among them, several were strong men of the older generation. He dared not neglect them. Hahaha, Wenxing, remember to give me those things in a few days. I told you. Pei Wenbin laughed and said to Tang Wenxing beside him. Okay, I'll give you the stuff in a few days. Why are you showing off? I'm so happy. Pei Wenbin replied with a smile. On the field, Zhang Xingyun chatted with Long Yun for a few words, shook hands, and walked off the battlefield amid applause. Hahaha, a big boss is a big boss. Even if he comes to the imperial capital, he is still a big boss. Even Long Yun, the number one in the imperial capital university, was defeated by you, big boss Zhang. Lang Yuchen and others greeted him with a smile. It's not a big defeat. He is still very strong. Undertaking has lost his combat ability. If it weren't for the giant claw mantis's breakthrough, it would not be easy to take down such a powerful land shark. Zhang Xingyun shook his head and said calmly, you are modest. Look at this. This is modesty. If my strength doesn't allow it, I will do the same. Lang Yuchen said with a smile, and then everyone sat down together and laughed. While everyone was chatting and laughing, the field shook for a while, and a new field appeared on the field after the shaking. Yunshin, you play this round. Pei Wenbin began to call out the generals, and called out Li Yunshin. Okay, teacher. Li Yunshin responded, and stood up, and walked to the battlefield. This round was his turn. I have to perform well in this round. It would be a bit embarrassing if I lose. Li Yunshin thought to himself. The Magic City won the first 2 rounds. If he lost this round, he would lose the first one. Although it was nothing, he didn't want to. On the field, after the referee announced the start of the battle, both sides sent out elves to fight. The two of them still chose the 3 vs 3 battle mode. At the beginning, the two sides went back and forth, and each won and lost. Li Yunshin still had the advantage of 2 elves, while the opponent only had 1. Please, Boscadora. A majestic Boscadora appeared on the field, with extraordinary momentum. At the same time as he appeared on the stage, his training also started Super Evolution. Super Boscadora appeared on the stage, and his strength was improved to the peak level of Qua Seeking. His defense reached an astonishing level. Perhaps only the king level could break the defense. In fact, after fighting for more than 10 rounds, he defeated Li Yunshin's second elf, and then relied on his amazing defense and terrifying explosive power to solve the third elf. Sorry, everyone, I lost. Li Yunsing said with a bitter face. It was his first defeat, which was really uncomfortable. It's okay, just try your best. Yeah, if I meet that Boscadora, I can't beat it either. With such a terrifying defense, I don't know what it eats to grow up. This Boscadora, I think only Xingyun, Nangang, Ruhan and others have the possibility of defeating it. The classmates spoke a few words of comfort, and soon a new classmate came on the stage. This time, the performance of this classmate was worse than Li Yunshin. He only fought off 1 elf on the opposite side, and the second elf was only seriously injured. Then, another person came on stage. Half an hour later, the student returned to the team with a distressed look on his face and apologized to everyone. Damn, what drugs did they take to make them so powerful? They defeated 3 of us in a row, Lang Yuchen exclaimed. 3 of his team had been defeated in a row, which was really shocking. Teacher Pei, let me do it this time. Pei Chenjin stood up and asked Pei Wenbin to fight. Okay, then you will do it this time. Pei Wenbin agreed. Hahaha, Wenbin, do you want to bet again? The Imperial Capital won 3 games in a row, and Tang Wenxin was in a very good mood. Come on, I'm not afraid of you. What are you betting this time? Pei Wenbin replied. Your Zhengjin mine, my flame feather. Do you want to bet? Okay, who's afraid of who? Let's bet. Pei Wenbin said proudly without any hesitation. So confident again. There shouldn't be many students like that. Students like that are not ordinary people. That's how confident he is. Pei Wenbin straightened his body and then said, my nephew doesn't believe it. Who should I believe? Oh, it turns out to be your nephew. Then this game will be difficult. It's a mistake. Hahaha, it's too late to regret now. I want your flame feather. Hahaha, it's too early to say now. Then we'll see. Yeah, wait and see. The two leading teachers fell silent and watched the battle on the field. Pei Chenjin's performance was relatively stable and steady. After 10 minutes, he took the lead in defeating an elf on the opposite side, which attracted Lan Yuchen and others to cheer for him. Xingyun, I heard from Yao that your Kabutosaurus is about to evolve, right? Long Zero asked in the crowd. Yes, Kabutosaurus is about to evolve. Zhang Xingyun nodded in reply. It's like this, the annual Dragon Clan celebration is going to begin in 2 days. Are you interested in going? Dragon Clan celebration? Yes, the Dragon Clan celebration. Long Zero nodded. Chapter 500 Liu Ruhan vs Lin Fan. Every year at this time, the Dragon Elves in the Dragon Valley will hold a Dragon Festival. It is a grand event for the Dragon Elves, and has many benefits for the evolution of the Kabutosaurus. Maybe your Kabutosaurus is from the Dragon Valley. If so, it's just right for it to go back and see its hometown. Long Zero said with a smile. Okay, then I'll trouble you to take us there when the time comes. Zhang Xingyun was also tempted. Now he is also in the Imperial capital. It would be nice to go to the Dragon Valley and see the legendary Dragon Valley. No problem. Long Zero said with an okay gesture. Zero, I want to go too. I also have a dragon elf. Meng said, indicating that she wanted to go. Okay, adieu. Then can Zero also go? Several people around asked Long Zero if they could go. Well, if you have a dragon type quasi-god Pokémon, or a pure dragon type Pokémon, you can go together. If not, forget it. Long Zero suggested. In fact, inviting outstanding trainers who cultivate dragon type Pokémon to go to Dragon Valley is also the obligation of their Long family children, and it is also an agreement with the guardian god of Dragon Valley. The situation with the Pei family is similar. Bang bang bang. While everyone was talking, a rumble came from the field. The battle was almost over at this time. Both trainers sent out their last Pokémon to fight on the field. The field was covered with a sandstorm that covered the sky and the sun. From the outside, the situation inside could no longer be seen. Benji woo woo roars came from the sandstorm, and one after another of blazing flames came out through the sand, but were repaired by the flying sandstorm. Bang with a whoosh, the sandstorm gradually dissipated, revealing the scene inside. A Houndoom was lying on the ground, unconscious, while Bangulus was still standing there, with slight burn marks on his shoulders and chest. After the sandstorm, the field was covered with gravel, and the green grass that was originally growing was also covered in it. Houndoom has lost its ability to fight. Bangulus won, and this time it was Pei Chenjin who won. The referee announced. Hahaha, remember to bring your flame feather. Pei Wenbin laughed, his face full of smiles. Okay. Tang Wenxiang said a little depressed. Then, both sides sent students to the field to fight. After 3 rounds of fierce fighting, the Magic City won 1 and lost 2. Seeing this, Tang Wenxiang's face eased, and he was no longer so depressed. It was Pei Wenbin's turn to be depressed. Overall, the Magic City side lost more than it won. Lin Fan, you play in the next game. Tang Wenxiang shouted, asking Lin Fan to play. Wenbin, do you want to bet this time? Bet, I must bet with you. Pei Wenbin immediately agreed. Lin Fan's trump card Pokémon is Beedrill, and Rui Han's 3-headed dragon has just reached the threshold of the king. With the strength of the quasi-god Pokémon, it should not be difficult to fight against Beedrill. Pei Wenbin thought secretly in his heart. Liu Ruhan's 3-headed dragon had a small breakthrough 2 days ago, and his strength has infinitely broken through to the king level. He can also defeat ordinary king Pokémon. Rui Han, let you play this game. After some thought, Pei Wenbin planned to let Liu Ruhan play. Okay. Liu Ruhan stood up and responded, full of confidence, and walked onto the battlefield. After the 2 people on the field were polite, they started the battle. This time they chose a 6 vs 6 battle mode. Liu Ruhan's starting Pokémon is Infernape, and Lin Fan's starting Pokémon is the bug type moth. The strength of the two is similar, and the fire type restrains the bug type, so Infernape has a big advantage. More than 10 minutes later, after a fierce battle, Moth was defeated by Infernape. Linfan then sent out a Dunker, which defeated Liu Ruhan's Infernape. Liu Ruhan sent out other Pokémons, and both sides won and lost. Banku Boskrid roared, and a large armor lying not far from it had lost consciousness. Infernape has lost its ability to fight. Please send out a fighting Pokémon within the specified time. The referee raised the small flag in his hand and shouted. Now on the field, Liu Ruhan still has 2 Pokémons, while Linfan only has 1 Pokémon left. Old friend, you still have to play. Linfan took out a Pokéball and said to it in a gentle voice. The Pokéball vibrated slightly a few times as a response. Old friend, I'll leave it to you. Linfan threw out the Pokéball, and the Pokéball opened, and a strong Beedrill flew out of it. Hiss, the Beedrill dragged its twin guns with cold light, and its eyes quietly looked at the Mega Boss Critter on the opposite side. Kuoho Super Boskadora felt a strong threat from Beedrill. At this time, in its super evolved state, its strength has reached the peak of the Quasi King, and its defense ability is extremely strong. But in front of this Beedrill, Boskadora still feels like a thorn in the back. After the referee's announcement, Beedriller immediately moved, and a high-speed, ghostly figure appeared behind Boskadora, raised its double guns, and stabbed out like lightning. Puff puff. Kuoho Super Boskadora let out a cry of pain, and felt a sharp pain from behind, so he punched back, but it hit the air, and Beedriller was no longer there. How is it possible? Liu Ruhan exclaimed. On Boskadora's back, a wound as big as a small bowl had appeared, after being stabbed by the Beedrill. Boskadora's body, which was as hard as steel, and such a strong defensive body, was pierced so easily. Boskadora, harden, increase your defense, and then use the metal sound. Liu Ruhan said. Boskadora immediately did as he was told, and a piercing sound rang out on the field, filling the field. Interrupted. His whoosh missile needles shot out from Beedrill's double guns, densely shooting at Boskadora. Crackling boom. After a crackling sound, there was also an explosion. In the smoke and dust, Beedrill was already close, and a IAI slashed on Boskadora, leaving a deep wound. Boskadora stepped back a few steps, screaming in pain. His Beedrill attacked again. Boskadora Dragon Claw. Boskadora raised his hand to grab it, but grabbed a handful of air. Its speed was too slow in front of Beedrill. Dinku Boskadora screamed in pain again, extremely frustrated. Usually, it is not afraid of fast Pokémon, because they cannot break its defense. But now the Beedrill can. Its speed is like lightning, making it powerless and uncomfortable. Bang bang bang. The Beedrill's attack came again, and Boskadora had to cheer up and fight. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.